With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Seven days ago, it was a difficult doubleheader at the Green Hell, and today it's a decidedly different flair for the drivers in the Precision Racing League. First up, it's a trip over to sunny Spain. We head over to Jerez for the PRL GT3 Fix Series, but don't forget, we head over to the Alabama roller coaster after this for your GT3 Sprint Series. Hello everyone and welcome back to RaceSpotTV. Our Junior Kanky Party on hand alongside with Joey Tebben as we get set to see 35 minutes of racing, of course, here with the Fix Series, and then 45 minutes in a longer race when we got on over to your GT3 Sprint Series. Joey, you missed out on what was a lot of fun at the Nordschleife. For some of the drivers, they'll be very much looking to put that race behind them, especially those that ran out of fuel. However, 4 rounds still left to go after this, and it's all about the fact that Mr. Uptown Gary Brown has now won 4 races in a row.
All good streaks come to an end, though, and I think people are going to be happy at home that I wasn't here last week, because they would have been listening to a voice that sounded quite a bit like this. But we're back to full power, or almost full power this week, for the beautiful Spanish countryside. If you were here with us last night on Race Spot, you saw we had a fantastic race in the GR86s and the MX5s at Jerez, and a couple of weeks ago when we came here in the GT3 Sprint Series, that was one of the best GT3 races in PRL history. So we've got a pretty good track record around this place. For one of the newest tracks on iRacing, it's proven to be a very, very good racing facility, and I don't think that's going to change tonight. I think we've got a very close field in qualifying, and we've had some great races this season.
That is a lofty bar you've just set, by the way, Joey, for these GT3 Fix drivers to live up to. Of course, it was a very fun race when we had those GT3 Sprint drivers come here, because there's been a couple of occasions where we've diverted where we were meant to go today, Joey, but we're not because of pit lane considerations.
That's a
good question, isn't it?
No, we were... you made me think now, because we were supposed to go to Donington earlier in the season. We switched that for Watkins Glen.
We'll have to go figure that out.
We were supposed to go to Jerez this week. This is correct in this series, but in the Sprint Series, we ditched Jerez because Jerez was the track that replaced Donington in that series.
Okay.
So it had to be double replaced with Barber coming up later.
So that's the one that's been double replaced. Interesting. Here's a look at those championship standings. And remember, 4 wins in a row for Gary Brown. He now leads by 32 points, although Justin Delano, also in a Porsche, also for Scuderia Spizzino, keeping him relatively close in second. Ultimately, though, with 4 races still left to go, Gary Brown is the man to beat. The question I really have is anyone going to be able to challenge him in the closing stages? Delano's looks quick. Eric Hulaga in the Ford has been very impressive as well.
and very consistent. That's what matters, but unfortunately the reason people can't beat Gary Brown is because he's both been consistent and very, very fast. So when somebody is consistently winning races, that's an almost impossible task to beat. But Justin Delano may have some superstitious luck on his side because yesterday was his birthday. Could he have a good belated birthday present tonight and finally take that first win?
Always interesting to see how drivers can respond. I always think it's the best birthday present, but you tend not to practice so much if you are celebrating your birthday at the end of the day. Here's a quick look at your team championship as well, where it's Vulture Motorsports North, Lunatic Racing, and then Vulture Motorsports South 1, 2, and 3. Although 1st through 5th still realistically split by a points margin that could still be caught up in the closing stages, and it goes to show just what a crazy championship it's been. Gary Brown, Delano, both part of Scuderia Spazzino. They've been the class of the field so far in the Drivers' Championship. Their teams only down in 5th and 6th.
And they've all been separated, and they don't have quite the strength in numbers that all those teams at the top of the table have. Every single team in the top 3 there has a 3-car lineup. Now, only 2 cars from each team can score points every week, but when you have 3 cars, you can afford to have 1 get eliminated, and then you still got 2 drivers scoring good points for you. If you're only a 2-car team, you don't really have any of that leeway, so that's why the team's championship always gets a little bit crazy in these GT3 series.
So look top to bottom at your championship standings then, and as your drivers head out onto track for qualifying, we take the time to thank those that make all this possible, starting with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you are looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake, or sequential shifter, visit Mechasim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. Maradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit maradness.com. And Ninja Trader, better futures start now. Trade the world's future markets with Ninja Trader. Visit ninjatrader.com to access unlimited free trade simulation. Qualifying here at Jerez, the significance of qualifying cannot be understated because it's tight and twisty in its opening sectors here, Joey. And most importantly, while yes, the GT3 Sprint Series put on a cracker of a race, we did see how difficult it is to actually make passes happen. You're going to have to work to set it all up.
Luckily, there are multiple places at this place where you can make a pass. It's very difficult, but there's some tight hairpins, there's some reasonably long straights. Turn 6 is going to be a great place to watch any attempts for a pass. And turn 13, which was where we saw so many attempts to take the lead from Beckham Jasir in that GT3 sprint race a couple of weeks ago. So there's definitely some passing opportunities around here, even if it is known as a little bit of a motorcycle track. Got Eric Kalaga in the forward here on screen. Was just going through the most difficult corner on the track at turn 8. It's a seemingly never-ending long corner, and then actually up over the top of the hill at turn 5, rather. Excuse me, I'm getting my numbers wrong. And he's coming straight down here to turn 6. One of the hairpins. Going to be a great passing zone.
You can't even blame corner numbers because this track is relatively normal when it comes to that. We are using the layout without the chicane, a little bit more similar to what the motorcycles would use. And I don't actually think there's any GT3 racing of note around this track in the real world, but it does actually suit quite well. Kuglaga's in 8th. It's Porsche, Audi, Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Audi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 at the front. As we head into the final stages of qualifying less than 5 minutes ago, we did see a handful of drivers heading on down onto pit lane to get a fresh set of boots. Now, oh, interesting. We are using the chicane for the GT3 Sprint Fix Series. We didn't for the Sprint Series.
Yes. So see, we were both wrong slightly about something on the track. So we've evened everything out here. We won't be using that long lap penalty at the hairpin. So we're lucky there. Eric Kalaga, though, taking the chicane which is going to make things interesting. It's going to be one less fast corner to wear out the tires. It's going to be one less fast corner. We're going to be using a little bit more fuel. So that may adjust the driver's strategies a little bit. You got one little extra bit of slow section.
I think that was Nicholas Karangis that was coming out of... Greg Doucette, excuse me, in the Throttle Thursday Lamborghini coming out of pit lane. Waited to release Kulaga into the flying lap. Here's through the opening sector, coming up towards turn number 5. Team maximizing the entry on the left-hand side as well, and then having to be a bit patient, a bit more understeer than he would have liked over the crest at 5, and then down the hill into the Curva Daddy Pedrosa. What a wonderful corner name that is, and hard through the gears once again, and into the middle sector of the lap.
It was unlike Coda in that every corner is actually named. Well, I say every corner. Turn 7 right here isn't quite named, but turn 8, the most difficult corner on the track, which he's actually at now, is the Curva Jorge Martinez Aspar. I don't actually know who that is. I'm not the...
Wow, you don't watch any motorcycle racing, do you?
No. I assumed he was a motorcycle rider, but I don't know anything about him.
Do you know who Danny Pedrosa is?
I know who Danny Pedrosa is. I know who
Do you know who
Alex
Senna is?
Creville is. Yes, I know who Senna is. I know who Cito Pons is. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
That is the Senna chicane, by the way, which is something I did not know. It is always nice to have actual names on your corners. Just makes it that tad bit easier. So Kulaga relatively steady around the lap. Not really sure if it's a good one or not based on the body language of the car. Let's see the time. Wait a bit until he actually gets to the timing beam. It's a 41.8. Finds half a second and will go to the top by 600ths.
How about that? I guess we can't read the body language of the Ford, because that was a very, very quick lap from Eric Kulaga. I don't think Eric Kalaga's never been on pole before. This would be his first pole in the PRL. He's got to sit there and wait, though, because Gary Brown is coming. He's definitely got more speed in that car. He was at the top of the table in practice. Could Eric Kalaga's hopes and dreams end very, very early? He's got to wait about 10 more seconds.
It was 2 previous pole positions this season for Gary Brown in that Porsche, and in his quest to win 5 races in a row, it's a 41.685, 2/10. He's back on top.
Heartbreaking.
Now we'll see if anyone else can find even more time. One thing to note, by the way, pit entry is a tighter hairpin on the inside. We saw plenty of the GT3 Sprint drivers having issues with that. We'll see if that's going to be the case here today. Steven Martinez will not improve in his Porsche 911, but Errol Arexoy in the Audi R8, who was showing some decent speed at the Nordschleife, up to 4th.
He's shown lots of decent speed this season. Unfortunately, he's been living up to the middle syllable of his name a couple of times. That's why he's not really in championship contention, but Errol Arexoy has been a stalwart of this series for the past couple of seasons. He's always been competitive for the wins. He's always been competitive for the podiums. And that Audi, it's pretty quick right now. Sully Saad as well in another Audi, currently P3. There's been a few drivers that have switched away from the Audi, especially in the Sprint Series, but these two guys still think it might be the car to have, and at a tight and twisty place like this, it's pretty stable, and it'll help you through the corners.
You can switch cars mid-season, but you take a 20-point penalty off the top of my head, so you are disincentivized to do it. Don't forget Sean Campbell, midway through last year, accidentally signed up to the race with the wrong car. Was it the Ford that he had signed up with, and so he just YOLO'd it for the rest of the season, switching every week or so. Kulaga's already back in pit lane, by the way, as is the likes of Doucette, Johnson, Steffi, Chandler, and Houston. As 6 seconds left on the qualifying clock, the drivers that are on a flying lap will be allowed to finish this attempt. I don't think anyone's really going to challenge Gary Brown. Kulaga in second, though, might still be vulnerable. Colin McKenzie to 8th. Here comes Arexoy in the Audi.
Don't count out Arexoy or Saad there. You got somebody going in reverse down the front straight. That won't affect Arexoy to the line. Little bit of improvement, not going to be enough for him. He's going to beat Sully Saad, but it's not going to be enough to go any higher than row number 2. That was critical for Colin McKenzie, by the way. He was actually the driver who topped practice. Gary Brown was second. Colin McKenzie was sitting 29th in qualifying until that final lap. So good on him for getting that improvement up into the top 10. Poor old Waldo Walden, one of the most recent winners in the PRL, by the way. Finally got his first win at Talladega a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
Not so lucky today, though.
Here's that pit entry, by the way. That's how you should take it. Very well executed by J.R. Gregory.
Yeah, get your practice in.
Yes, good call as well, because it was... I don't know what the... It was weird seeing how many drivers had issues with pit entry, especially up towards the front of the field. That's Felix Felice, and I think with that said, it's basically qualifying done and dusted, unless Gary Brown wants to improve on his time, but I'd wager he's more likely to try a pit stop entry here. We'll go from Jerez over to the Barber Motorsports Park. Two actually surprisingly similar tracks in the layout, even though the amount of elevation change very, very different between the two.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to do a geological analysis here, because there's definitely some elevation change at Jerez. It's
not as much as Barber, though. Surely.
I don't know, actually, because the back straight, especially, there's a pretty big drop there. Turn 1 is a pretty big hill climb here. I'm gonna have to check the data here. I'm gonna have to check the elevation.
Barber goes up and down is the thing. So that's... We'll get the data. We'll get the Google Maps to help us out. Chet Miller will be the final car across the line. No improvement there. 30 seconds left, and then we'll head on over to your race session as well. But Gary Brown's going to make it 3 poles this season. And poles are a great place to start here, but we know that fuel mileage is always a major game that gets played.
And that's why, or it's one of the big reasons why that GT3 sprint race a couple of weeks ago was so good, because your race leader Beckham Jasir had to save fuel. He underfueled the car. He didn't save as much fuel as he should have, so he was basically riding on fuel save mode until the end of the race and making himself vulnerable, and that could very well happen today with a little bit of extra fuel saving possible in the chicane.
So, qualifying in the books, and right now, Gary Brown is the man with a target on his back in this PRL GT3 Fix Series. He'll lead us to the green here in the sunny Spanish track of Jerez. He's got Eric Kulaga alongside in the Ford. 1 and 3 in the championship, 1 and 2 on the grid. Errol Rexoy and then Sully Side in the pair of Audis on row 2 with Steven Martinez and then Dale Peterson, Porsche and Ferrari to make up the rest of your front 3 rows. Back in 7th, Greg Doucette in the Throttle Thursday number 77. Colin McKenzie in that Lunatic Racing car, who brings some new colors into today. Lines up on the outside of row number 4. It's Felix Felice and then Justin Delano through the top 10 with Pete Mejia and then Jared Keane 11th and 12th positions. Frank Johnson, Matt Scherf 13th and 14th with Buck Hamilton and then Jay Steffi in the second of your Fords on row number 8. Reagan Chandler inside of Trevor Houston, 17th and 18th positions with Jeff Carollo and then Ryan Reeves 19th and 20th. It's Nicholas Carangis, JR Gregory, Chad Dick and then Matt Dinsmore through your front 12 rows with Michael Kulaga, Corey Davis, Ryan Luna, Luke Davis, Chet Miller and then Jason Ahrensberg completing your top 30. Nicholas Herrera, Waldo Walden, your final cars getting ready to roll in what is a 32 car GT3 fixed field. They'll get a full pace lap to build some temperature into their tires as well, which not necessarily sure they're going to necessarily need, because track temperatures, they're pretty ideal for racing, I'd say. Not too hot, not too cold. 38 degrees track temperature, Joey. I think we're in a good state for these drivers to go and battle with 4 rounds of the championship left to go.
I'm very thankful that graphic did the translation for me. 38 degrees C, 101 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's basically what I would expect in the dry, desiccated regions of Spain. The 29th of April, so we're starting to get into the end of spring, the beginning of summer. It's a pretty hot day around here. There are a lot of high-speed corners around this place. It loves to shred the tires, and I honestly wonder, it's probably going to be too short of a race to make it worth it to take potentially right-side tires with the amount, or left-side tires rather, with the amount of right-hand corners.
No.
We've seen crazier things happen before.
I don't think that's too crazy. Hopefully everyone will put enough fuel into their car. It's not such a bad thing here at Jerez, though, relative to the Nordschleife, given how long the lap is. Only one Chandler in action today. I think we missed Reagan last week, and now we're missing Ryan in action, which means that the battle of the Chandlers effectively goes to Reagan, so congratulations for winning that little tussle here today. Gary Brown at the front. What's changed, Joey? Where has he got this rich vein of form?
I mean, he's always had the speed. It's just been a case of trying to harness it, making sure to get rid of those mistakes, making sure he isn't downtown Gary Brown and he isn't qualifying badly and having to pass his way up to the front. He's found the pace that he actually has, I think, this season, and it's been an incredible run. 4 wins in a row does not happen often. 5 wins in a row is even less likely, though, so every driver behind him is keeping that in their mind. There's got to be at least one point where this guy's eventually going to make a mistake and open the door for somebody else.
You know what I find the most interesting thing, though? The way that the championship has played out, even if he does win 5 in a row, by no means is he done and dusted in the championship. He's still going to have to stick around and get points on the board in the next couple of rounds. Behind plenty of drivers wanting to grab their first victories of the season as well. Only Evan Smogor, Colin McKenzie have been able to grab victories so far this season. They wanted to add their names to that leaderboard. One thing that I think we did see at the GT3 sprint race back here at Jerez a couple of weeks ago was the field slightly spreading out, and I feel like the addition of the chicane for this race will only hasten that.
It might hasten that, but also it's an opportunity for a mistake. That's what, there's been a lot of recent tracks where we put like tight fiddly chicanes in them, like the Miami F1 track, and the track designers always say it's a mistake producer. It'll allow for overtakes. It doesn't work often in tracks like that, but around this place, I think it definitely is a producer of mistakes, and it'll definitely open up the last couple of corners of the lap, especially at turn 13 for an overtaking opportunity if the driver in front does make a mistake and just barely gets that chicane wrong.
At the end of the day, Joey, we've gone to Belle Isle and now we're went to the Nordschleife. We're done with those 2 races. Anything is better, surely, to the drivers after those two difficult rounds.
I mean, this is a track day for these guys. This is a fantastic track. It's great for racing. It's great for driving. And Gary Brown's going to be the happiest driver in the world in about 10 seconds here.
We're in the south of Spain and ready to rumble. Gary Brown trying to break 5 wins in a row. The field behind, though, not content to let him run away with the championship. 4 rounds left to play. Gary Brown picks up the throttle. We're racing at Jerez, and already Eric Kulaga has to defend for Errol Urexoy down the inside and up into second. They filter their way up through the hill and into the braking zone of turn number 2 as they start to just dive down into that braking zone, single filing it out inside of your top 10 positions. Crucially, all 32 cars have navigated through turn 1 safely, and now it's about trying to pick your way through, getting your tires up to temperature. Look at the lead that Gary Brown's already building.
Going snake mode for the moment here. It was a pretty clean start, a little bit of a checkup in the back, but other than that, we've not been getting messy in Jerez just yet. There's a little bit of dive from Justin Delano up over the top of the hill into turn 5. Nothing came of that. We'll look a little bit further back behind Dale Peterson. Colin McKenzie looking for a way to get by. Nobody able to do anything around the hairpin just yet. McKenzie's forced to the outside.
All tidy, though, crucially through that first heavy braking zone after turn 1. And now McKenzie to the inside of Matt Scherf in the 43, who's going to get a little bit squirrely and drop down, but not as much as Gary Brown, who's going to get tagged by Justin Delano. 1 and 2 in the championship on the opening lap, coming together.
We cursed him. We talked about the winning streak. It had to come to an end eventually, and it comes to an end with a T-bone from Justin Delano. They're 3 wide through turn 10. They got to figure that out eventually. I think both of those drivers are going to be coming down pit lane this time because that was a heavy impact for the birthday boy, Justin Delano. I'm
more surprised that they're still rolling, all things considered, given the inertia that Delano ran through Gary Brown's Porsche. He's not even pulling off. Neither of them ducking down to pit lane either, as that's a half-hearted look, all things considered, through the final corner. Up front, though, it's Urexoy that will try and take advantage in a 5-car train at the front. Kulaga, Martinez, Saad, Doucette. The rest of those cars try to chase down your new race leader. What on earth happened, though? Let's take a look at that. Hot track, cold tires, the differences in temperatures kind of finding each other there. And then up over the top of the hill, Gary Brown loses it. Delano has nowhere to go as Brown just kind of wheels it back a little bit. He clipped the curb a little bit. That really unsettled him. And then he had it saved, but he lost it again trying to get back on the track. And poor old Delano didn't see it until the last possible second. I mean, that's going to be both of them out for the count. That looks very similar to the production car challenge race at Alton Park and just how some of the cars were bouncing off of the walls. It just like was a pillow that just propelled Gary Brown on forward. that should have been a lot worse than it is. Here is a look at Gary Brown in, what is it, 14 in his 49 machine down in 24th position. And
downtown.
Very much downtown. We'll check in with him as well. Not looking as happy as he has the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, that 4-win cushion, though, that's going to be a little bit of solace for him. But Mr. Portrait Mode Gary Brown, unfortunately, this is the karma he gets for setting his camera up in the wrong orientation, and he is going to be... He's still bringing that thing around the track. It doesn't look too bad to drive, but he's not going to be making it 5 in a row today. I think we can say that much.
Nope. Here's a look with Reagan Chandler, who I've said his name right so far today, right? I haven't made a mistake.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, especially confusing because you and myself will be on commentary tomorrow for PRL Xfinity action, where you've got Richard Regan Jr.
We'll figure it out. Just remember, we're in Spain this week, so we can say it like Regan, and that always helps me. That helps me do it.
Say that one again.
Regan. Regan Chandler.
We didn't get to hear your pronunciation of any of the Nordschleife corner names.
9.
So, iRacing Nürburgring 24 hours coming up soon, Joey. I'm just saying, I'm going to make sure I'm on the same hours as you so I can quiz you.
What weekend is that?
It's a good question. Jason Ahrensberg spun around in the Autism Awareness car. It's no longer Autism Awareness Month, is it? So,
It's going to be May.
I do love that Jason Ahrensberg continues to run that paint, but now I'm more curious what's going to be next up.
I don't know what May is in terms of Awareness Month. June coming up, that's going to be Pride Month. July is going to be something else that I don't remember. August, I don't remember. September, I don't remember.
Wow.
I only know about 2 awareness. I only know 3 awareness months.
Wow.
So I gotta start learning.
You do have the benefit of knowing 3 more than me. So there's at least that. Steven Martinez looking quite close to Eric Kulaga. We said that we couldn't really understand the body language of his car, the Ford in qualifying. Just look at how he's using all of the track, though, and the car is moving around compared to the Porsches and the Audi. It's a lot more work. It's a lot more effort that Eric Kulaga is having to put into that car to keep it running up there in second.
He's definitely keeping company with your Rextoy, though, so all that extra work he's doing, it is for good at least, but eventually, once these tires do start to wear, which they definitely will do with the amount of high-speed corners, like I said, they're all pretty much in the same direction. There's more rights than there are lefts. Those tires are going to start to wear for Mr. Kulaga, which will be good for Steven Martinez. It'll be good to get the pressure off of Urexoy, and Mr. Sully Saad is always good at keeping the tires under him as well, and that Audi is pretty even strung here. Doesn't seem to be causing any sorts of trouble for him. I don't know, the Ford may fall off quicker than any of these others.
Okay, I know you said you don't know much about motorcycle racing, but you do know who Valentino Rossi is at the very least, right?
Yeah, I know who the MotoGP drivers are, but if you go to, like...
Riders.
Mr. Jorge Martinez Aspar, like, I imagine he came from, like, the 70s or something.
I'm pretty sure Jorge Martin is a current MotoGP rider.
Let's see. Jorge Martinez Aspar was born in 1962. His last season was in 1997. Okay. I have plausible deniability.
You do have plausible deniability. That's the problem, is when you've got so many historic names. You know who Casey Stoner is?
Yeah, I know Casey Stoner. I know my MotoGP guys. I know the top one.
Phillip Island's, of course, got a corner named after him. That's Corey Davis in the Candy Apple Red Lamborghini. Spilled off the track, back on in 30th position.
Here's a good fact about this top 6. You know how many wins total in the PRL are represented in the top 6 right now?
That's a good question. I do not have the answer.
0.
Is it really 0 across of all series?
0 across the entirety of the top 6. Because remember, Arrow Urexley was going for his first win at Watkins Glen earlier this season and lost it to Gary Brown. Sully Saad has had some chances, hasn't quite been able to get it done either. So all 6 of these guys looking for their first win as we see what happened to Corey Davis further back. He loses it up over the top of the hill.
It's like he lost it on the curb on entry. You got to look off board to just see. It's AstroTurf on the outside. Too much speed.
Yep.
It's sometimes hard to tell from that onboard angle over the driver's shoulder. But as soon as you see it just pitch around as he turns in, especially in that mid-engine Lamborghini, you kind of know what to expect. Here's Delano and Brown, by the way. I'm still shocked neither of them has been forced to head down to pit lane. They're fighting for 22nd and 23rd. That's exactly what Eric Kulaga wants to see, though, running up in second.
I guess it was helpful that it was like perpendicular contact. There wasn't any sort of angle there. It was head on to the side of Gary Brown, but we're right on board with Mr. Delano here. Let's see, is that steering wheel pointed straight? We can't really tell here because you're constantly turning. It seemed like it was a little bit biased one way or another.
It's close enough that it doesn't seem like it would be too off-putting. Yeah, let's seem straight enough.
It's straight enough.
You saw
Gary Brown's going to be the worst one off, though, because he took the hit to the left side of the car, the right side of the car. There's got to be a little bit of bias there. Let's see here. We got a little bit of a straight.
Well, maybe
there's a little bit.
There's more play in the steering to the left is probably the best way to describe it. There's like 10 degrees of nothingness that goes on. Well, who was that driver this past weekend at Baku in Formula 2 or Formula 3 that put it on pole with the steering offset? Ollie Bierman or something?
Yeah, Ollie Bierman.
You deal with it as a racing driver, although I would not like to deal with it at a track like Baku. I am just saying when you have those 90-degree corners and you need to feel precise in when you're turning in, no thank you. Meanwhile, Kulaga is trying to say yes, please, to Urexo at the front.
I can't remember the last time a Ford actually won in this series, because the last time a Ford won in the PRL was in the GT3 Sprint Series when Sean Campbell won it, and he was disqualified at the end of the race, so he didn't actually win it because he switched cars too many times. So this could be historic if Kulaga actually wins.
Are we not counting Ford in NASCAR?
Well, that's obvious, but with Ford and GT racing.
Okay, I'm just checking. Of course, we got the Mustang GT3 that's coming up soon. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm always here for more GT3 cars. I'm hoping that we get the Ford supercar and the Chevrolet Camaro supercar coming here soon.
Do you really, though?
I mean, I'm honestly probably never going to drive it, but there's some people that are very, very excited about it. There's some big, powerful cars, and I might drive it.
The current generation supercar is maybe not as good a race car as the previous generation supercar. I'll leave it at that.
It doesn't look like a supercar. It's so big. It looks like a GT4 car.
It looks a little bit like a GT4 car. You're right. That's not Gary Brown that's had another issue, is it?
That is Gary Brown. Wrong track, Gary. We're on the GP layout this week.
It's not his race. He'll try and blame me for the commentator's curse. But I think we'll have to take a look at the replay and then take a judgment call. Battles into the chicane.
Oh.
I mean, neither driver...
He took the chicane, and then he got turned to the other part of the track, and Justin Delano got erased as well. Same driver.
Now, neither driver really left too much room at the end of the day. Look from Delano. I mean, there's a car alongside. He's got to try and leave a little bit more room, in my opinion.
Yeah, nobody was really interested in leaving room there. Delano didn't really leave any room trying to blast his way through there, so I think both of those drivers may have a little bit of extra damage there, just trying to get aggressive and make up those positions when they can, but they both hurt themselves even more.
For Gary Brown, his previous drop round was 11 points, so just checking. So he's going to drop a bad round, but it sounds like he's going to have a bad round that's counted into the championship as well. Joey, you and me both love ourselves a bit of IndyCar. Would you ever be interested to see an IndyCar race here at Jerez?
I think so. It would probably race pretty good because it's Barber-esque. And how many good races have we seen at Barber that is a motorcycle track that people are like, it might not be good for racing, but they immediately got proven wrong because somehow we put on fantastic IndyCar races at a motorcycle track every year. And we could do it the same here in Spain. We could absolutely do it the same.
I bring that up because the Champ Car World Series was scheduled to come here back in 2007 or 8. I forget when it was. But when they merged with IndyCar, that of course never happened. I'd be curious to see how that fares out. Now, Jay Steffi is headed down to pit lane. Is this an early pit stop to try and get out of traffic? If so, it may not be the worst call in the world.
It's definitely possible. We've seen that strategy many, many times over the past couple of weeks in some of these places where it's harder to pass. Steffi will come out in clean air here. He's going to come out behind Corey Davis to the tune of about 10 seconds, so This could be a pretty smart move here for Steffi. He's going to be in completely clean air. He's got no damage. It was a good stop. He didn't get a penalty on entry. This could be a very, very smart move.
See how it fares out, but 22 minutes to go. He is within the window to get to the end. It just means that he'll have less time with a lighter car. That's one thing that sometimes we'll talk about. That's not necessarily such a as big a factor in these GT3 cars as some of the other machines, but I don't want to downplay that. It will definitely be a somewhat of a talking point. And while they continue to run pretty calm at the front, Jeff Carollo trying to go the long way around on Reagan Chandler with Ryan Reeves watching on behind. The McLaren goes deep, Chandler boxed out, opportunity presented for the BMW of Reeves to slide on forward to 16th spot.
Just a little bit of 3 wide there. Why not? Might as well. Ryan Reeves in a new car this week. He elected to switch from the Porsche to the BMW, so he's taking his 20-point penalty, but he wasn't fighting for the championship, so he thought I might as well switch to the BMW, might as well just try and maximize my single race results to the end of the season. And he's having a pretty good run so far, getting very aggressive there into turn 13, and he hopes not to get burned by the fire of that McLaren.
They've got Karanjis close as well. JR Gregory not too far behind. Michael Kulaga has also now just dived off to pit lane, so one by one they are electing to switch on out. The Ford is the oldest GT3 car on iRacing by a country mile. The McLaren is pretty close as well, so if we want the new Ford Mustang, what is the latest McLaren GT3 car? I'll be honest in saying that I don't actually know. I know they have this. Is it the Artura? What's it called?
I would have said the newest GT3 car was the 720S, but I don't know if they've updated it.
That's old at this point. We've gone through the MP4-12C, the 570, the 720, and I feel like we're now due for another one.
Let's see. I'm checking the McLaren Automotive Wikipedia page right now.
And to be clear, it's not the McLaren Arthur. I made a joke. No one from McLaren send me angry messages, please.
I'd be here for the McLaren Arthur. That was a great show on PBS. Get the Aardvark theme going.
It needs to be like a PLP 50 style car, though. You know what I'm saying? It's got to go. It's got to have an aesthetic. There's an Artura GT4 apparently, a 720S GT3, and a 570S GT4. But apparently no new GT3 car from McLaren just yet. Especially. Probably not going to happen given that they have just introduced a brand new Evo update of their car. Here comes Pete Mejia onto pit lane, and he was in 14th spot. Cycles his way down onto the lane.
I think this is the same thing that Jay Steffi was doing, just backing it out of traffic, trying to find some clean air. He's got Regan Chandler behind him as well, and speak of the Steffi, he's Steffed it.
He Steffed it. That doesn't sound too... We're going to have to workshop that one a little bit more, I feel like, before we head out back onto airwaves with that one. He was behind Arensberg, and it's going to be self-inflicted, isn't it? Goes in deep, way too much speed, and loops the rear end before he even got to the apex, basically. I always like watching onboards, Joey, with this old Ford GT, because it's so old, it's got a sequential shifter sticking up from the floor.
It looks a little bit like you're watching a replay from iRacing 10 years ago, so it's a little bit of a throwback. I'm always happy to see it. Not quite happy to see Jay Steffi spinning around, though, but target fixation, car to your inside, getting a little bit wide at an off-camber quarter. None of those are recipes for success.
So we've had a handful of cars already into pit lane, and now we wait for the top runners to do so. Ryan Reeves, Karanjis squabbling for 15th and have allowed Jeff Carollo in the McLaren to break away. So how old is the McLaren 720S at this point?
Oh, Karanjis.
He goes around in his Lamborghini. He, fortunately, is going to come in to no contact with everyone else. Meanwhile, at the front, here comes the split call. Martinez in. 17.5 minutes to run.
That's big. First of the top 6 was elected to come in. Martinez was running third behind Kulaga and Urexoy. Maybe getting held up a little bit, hoping that the undercut pays off for him. I am worried for him, though, because he may end up in traffic. But before we see that, we got to see Nicholas Karanjis doing exactly the same thing, getting hard on the brakes to not get in the back of Ryan Reeves, and losing the rear.
And Corey Davis has had to head to pit lane, and this, I think, will let us know why. Same corner, rear end steps out, and in that candy apple Lamborghini, I think that was enough to call it a day. So, split calls in strategy at the front. We're starting to see some split calls at the back. Martinez with a lengthy pit stop, 14.2 seconds. 10 or 11 seconds the norm for everyone else who's come down pit lane, Joey.
And that basically nullifies his strategy. That's too much extra time. He has found himself in clean air, which is great, but an extra long stop, unless all the leaders make the same mistake, that's going to kill his chances here. So he's probably going to be gunning, honestly, for the end part of the top 6. Matt Scherf is far enough back that he'll probably find a window there, but there's going to be a costly 4 seconds.
I wonder if he had to fight through some of that traffic as well. Hopefully not, because that would have cost him even more time. I do feel like we're due to see the drivers in, if not this lap, then the next time by. Jurexoy Kulaga do not respond, neither will Sully Saad. Doucette Peterson, do they feel the need to dive onto pit lane? No, they stay out as well. Working onto lap 12 of an estimated 20 or so in this race. Sully Saad has dropped back considerably from your top 2. You say Martinez will be thinking about getting onto the back of the top 6. He may still end up in front of Sully Saad.
He could. Saad has lost the pace in that Audi, but he's not that far off necessarily. Last lap for Jurexoy, 143.6. Kulaga was a 10th faster, and then Saad was 2/10 slower. So they're all pretty even, I can say right now, but Saad definitely does need to find some pace here to catch these two guys. See Kulaga a little bit tighter on entry there to turn 5. Still fighting with that car a little bit more than Jurexoy, but it's working for him. He's faster. He just can't find a way by on track.
Maybe just going to happen in the pit lane. If Kulaga's been sipping the fuel in the 4 GT, maybe the opportunity to cycle on through. Maybe even an opportunity to go 1 lap longer and try and take advantage on a car with a light fuel tank and tires already up to temperature to make an overcut happen. I was bored, so I did go and look. The McLaren 720S was introduced back in 2019. A traditional GT3 chassis will have probably a 7-year lifespan with 2 Evo upgrades, so we've still got a while before a new McLaren GT3 car. But if they want to make an Archer GT3 car, because that is, however, forever how I'm going to now call that car, I'm not going to complain. Jurexoy and Kulaga into the final corner. Neither comes in this time either, but look at Sully Saad.
He's committed. Peterson, I thought, was coming in as well, but he's going to stay out. It's going to be all Sully Saad here. He's got pit lane all to himself. Blinked for a moment. I got scared there that he got disqualified somehow, but we're all good. And Sully Saad is going to be hoping that he saved a little bit of fuel here. We know that the Ford of Eric Kulaga is going to be pretty fuel thirsty, but Aero Jurexoy, your race leader, is also in another Audi. Probably going to be using a similar amount of fuel to Sully Saad, so look for this number in Sully Saad's pit box, and remember that in about 1 lap's time when the leaders most likely come in.
So 14-ish seconds for Martinez. Sully Saad 11.5, so that's a good 2.5, 3 seconds delta just in terms of stationary time, and as Sully Saad releases himself off of the limiter, it's going to be a handful of seconds in front of Martinez, but the margin not too bad, and if it was Martinez being stationary for longer to try and get some tires, wherever the 2 tires that maybe could have taken would go on the car. That I'm not sure, but maybe it's an advantage that will be borne out come the end of the race. Here's a look at Michael Kulaga, by the way, who will very much be wanting some new tires after this.
Turn 8 that time, a little bit earlier than a lot of the mistakes we've been seeing. Normally it's up over the top of the hill, and then when you're trying to adjust the weight from turning left to turning right, but this time rear end of the Audi just loop-de-loops for Michael Kulaga. Good job by him to lock down the brakes there and get going again, but the Spanish sun, it's cooking these tires like a paella.
Now, Jurexoy Kulaga, 12.5 minutes to go. And here comes Jurexoy, but Kulaga does go that 1 lap longer. The Ford will get the opportunity to blast around with a lighter fuel tank. But the Audi of Jurexoy coming on in. Looks like Dale Peterson follows in, as does Colin McKenzie. Plenty of cars, though, extending onto lap 14.
That tells me that we're not at the hard end of the fuel tank, because Eric Kulaga likely not going to be able to save that much fuel in the Ford. It does not give itself to fuel saving very, very well. Urexoy, though, comes in probably, if I had to guess, if he was looking at his relative, he was probably seeing about 1.1, 1.2 laps to go, and he didn't feel like playing with it anymore. So he came in, got a good pit stop there, 10.9 seconds, and Peterson, 10.7 as well. See if he's able to save any fuel at all.
Good pit stops there. Jared Keane is going to stay stationary for longer than wanted. Not sure exactly what's gone on there. We'll see how it plays on out for the various contenders. There is Waldo Walden, who's just tangled with Justin Delano, who's leaving the scene of the incident. It's been a rather tumultuous day, all things considered, for plenty of drivers. Now, where has Urexoy come out relative to traffic? The important thing is, with no one in sight.
Yeah, the only driver ahead of him is Gary Brown, who's yet to pit, and that's going to be a pretty good driver to be behind with 3.5 seconds ahead. You know you're not going to get held up by him. Kalaga here through the chicane at the top of your screen has to make sure this is a great in-lap. You can't afford to make any mistakes now that you're on your lonesome. You don't have that car to follow. He better take a hard left here onto pit lane. Yes, he does. Get it slowed down. He does. Now it's a race off pit lane.
He actually got onto the power too early, trying to actually work through the apex of pit entry, and had to get off the power to avoid running into the grass, but good push lap there from Kulaga. Urexoy through that center chicane and heading towards that final corner as we wait for the Ford to hit its marks. 10.9 seconds, the pit stop time for Urexoy. Kulaga hits his box with no major dramas, fortunately. And as the Audi builds out of the final corner, Kulaga already starting to spool himself off and away. The Ford is going to have the lead as it climbs up into turn number 1. But Urexoy's coming with a head of steam. And Kulaga's going to have to defend for all he's worth.
Kulaga was 6 tenths better in the box, so that was 6 extra tenths of fuel saved there. Maybe that extra lap helped as well. You had to put a little bit less fuel in the tank to make it to the end. Aero Urexoy is going to be having flashbacks now to Watkins Glen when Gary Brown ended up getting ahead of him on the pit cycle. He wasn't able to get by him then to retake the lead. Can he do it to Kulaga this week?
Oh, Sully Saad's had an issue. Greg Doucette gets mixed up. Trevor Houston in the Lamborghini trying to find a way on through. Bit of a clumsy couple of laps there for a handful of drivers. We'll grab a look at a few replays in a few moments' time, but after what was a 5 or 6 car train initially, it's now just down to 2. Kulaga versus Urexoy, Ford versus Audi.
The hit movie of 2021, Ford versus Audi. Who could forget it? It's going to be quite the movie here to the end, though. Oh dear.
That's
Jeff Carollo.
Front bumper that went flying off his McLaren as well.
That's gonna go for quite a bit at auction, but that was up over the top of the hill at turn 5.
Back straightaway, wasn't it?
Big weight change there, big weight shift, loops it around. We got a lot of things to load up on the Panopticon here. We missed no mistakes, and Waldo Walden, you're up first. I'm so sorry.
Is this going to be self-inflicted? It is, and poor Justin Delano locks it down in time to avoid running into him, and then does actually have to wait for quite a while. Audi comes on through. Not the easiest situation. Buck Hamilton, you know what's coming now, don't you?
Oh no. Oh no. It's too late to come in now. You just got to commit and go around for another lap, but he pulls it back in.
I don't think he had the fuel to go one more lap, and Gary Brown is involved in everything, including that. Here's a look at what happened with Sully Saad, and I think Greg Doucette's going to be leaving pit lane on the outside, and Sully Saad washes up into him, wipes out Greg Doucette. You can place absolutely no blame on the Lamborghini there in my mind.
No, he left plenty of room, and that was going to be for the podium. Doucette and Kulaga were coming out 3rd and 4th there, and it's going to be outside of the top 20 for them, promoting Dale Peterson up onto the podium, and good old Steven Martinez, who put 4 extra seconds of fuel in the car. Suddenly he's in the fight for the podium again. His race is saved. Oh,
that's a bonk. I think we're going to need to ride on board to just see him trying to set up a move on Trevor Houston. He's not even on the gravel. I don't think he was on the gravel, though.
I think he was losing it already, but the gravel made things even worse there. Let's see from the helicopter view. Yeah, he's already losing the rear end. He would have had it saved, but then the gravel just loops it around. The differences in the coefficients of friction too high. And poor old Jeff Carollo makes some good amigos with the Armco there.
I think Ryan Luna's also made some friends, maybe with the Armco, maybe with someone behind him, and in the confusingly liveried Audi, he gets a bonk from the 42 machine of Nicolas Herrera.
Poor old Ryan Luna. Luna is moon in Spanish, and I can't think of anything to do with that, so there's just a language fact for you. It's etymology week here on RaceSpot.
Ah, okay, good, because I bring absolutely nothing to the table in that regard. 6.5 minutes to run. Should be, given that we crossed the line with about 7 minutes to go. 4 laps to go? I'm always terrible actually guessing how many laps we've still got to run. Kulaga's looking comfortable though. Urexo is a full 8/10 off right now.
Getting by Waldo Walden there up into turn number 5. Didn't get checked up at all. Waldo did a good job of getting out of the way there. Urexo does not seem like the faster of the two here, which is a terrible feeling when you're in second. The first win of your career has gone away again, and all you can do right now is put the pressure on Kulaga, hope he slows down somehow.
Maybe traffic could play a part. The problem is, now in front of these drivers, plenty of clean air, no traffic to deal with. At least for, you'd think, the next 3-4 laps. And so, Rexo just going to try and keep honest, hope that the tires have got something still left to give him, and hope that it will come back towards him in the closing stages. That's Chad Dick, I believe, that's gone around and is going to try and get back pointed in a straight line. Meanwhile, Frank Johnson got uncomfortably close to the right rear, excuse me, of Colin McKenzie, and the Audi shutting the door on any move.
Frank Johnson having his best race of the season here in the top 10, but he's getting a little bit over-aggressive. He's getting a little bit over-eager. Colin McKenzie gets over-eager on the exit of the chicane, though, and lets him by there. That may have been a little bit of a forced mistake by him, and Greg Doucette, he's been forced into another mistake as well.
Yeah, there's been another couple of moments here and there. We'll see if we can take a look at the Throttle Thursday Lamborghini, and if Greg Doucette did get any help. It's coming up into our favorite corner of the track. And so, as you go wee, Gary Brown got away with minor damage. Reagan Chandler did have to take to the gravel, I'm pretty sure.
Let's see, did he go the long way around here? Oh, there's a car there, a little bit of rallycross. Good stuff there from Reagan Chandler. Still loses the spot to Trevor Houston. Or does he? Yes, he did. He did eventually lose that. He wasn't able to hold it through the chicane, but it was a good, well held.
Hey, Gary Brown's fought his way back up into 12th. May still have a chance to get past Ryan Reeves. So, I think that is, for Gary Brown at least, good damage limitation after his self-inflicted mistake on the opening lap of the race. Check back in with the race leaders, though, as they head up into the middle and final sector of the lap here. 4 minutes to run. Gap back down to within 3-4 car lengths. No fuel concerns, hopefully, for Kulaga, which is where we saw the drama when the GT3 Sprint Series came here a couple of weeks ago.
Urexoy is coming, though. He's closed down the gap. He's as close as he's been. Both of these guys are fighting for their first win, which is interesting. So it's not the same situation as when Urexoy was trying to hang on to his first win with Gary Brown behind him. It's two drivers who desperately want their first win and want to force the other guy into a mistake. So it's the equalization of pressure. It's like the inside of a star. Eventually things are going to get so pressurized and so intense that you both kind of even each other out.
I feel like in Kulaga's mind, though, he will be cognizant of the fact that with Delano, with Brown having their issues, there's a chance here for him to close in. And speaking of Gary Brown, he's heading down to pit lane. Is this for an incident limit penalty? I believe it is.
Oh dear. I'm surprised Delano hasn't had to serve an incident limit penalty either, because he's had... Well, actually, he has. As I say that, he has. On the last lap, he took his drive-through, so no surprise there. Both of those guys have made contact with cars multiple times. If you get a drive-through for 13 incident points, 3 car contacts is already 12. One more off track, and you're serving your drive-through.
So, not the first penalties tonight, and maybe not the last. Barber has its own knack for chaos, and we see that in the real world, we see it in the virtual world quite frequently. I don't think that we're going to see a fight for the lead. I think Kulaga looks comfortable. Checking with Matt Surf, because the fan club in the YouTube chat, I'm sure, has been disappointed in our lack of checking in with him. He does have Frank Johnson now, clear of Colin McKenzie, and trying to find a spot in the top 5.
You know, we're racing in Spain here, but it's a great day for just plain old American names. Frank and Matt battling in the countryside of Spain here. Into the chicane, Surf defending. There's not much you can really do to defend into the chicane other than just run your line. The one thing you can't do is overcook it and make a mistake. So you can afford to back it up just a little bit, just run your line through there and you're all good. That's exactly what Matt Surf did there, held it off. But poor old Ryan Reeves, he is, I think that's at our favorite corner a little bit earlier in the lap at turn 9.
I think we're on the final lap of the race. Arexo was close through one for a moment and then got a little bit too squirrely, has lost a little bit more ground. Checking quickly with Ryan Reeves in his BMW. It is indeed through our favorite corner. It's like someone's thrown ice or oil onto the track there.
Somebody's spilled some of that fortified Jerez sherry wine on the track, I think. It's getting a little bit slippery.
That's a deep cut right there.
And it's the first sentence on the Wikipedia article, so I'm going to break it out as many times as I can with all that sherry wine fact. But Eric Kulaga, he's doing a good job here. He's keeping it cool, calm, and collected. This is exactly what he needs to do. He's got an 8/10 buffer, no mistakes for the rest of the lap, and he's got his first win.
And after what's been a steady start to the season in the Ford as well, to grab this first victory in the PRL is going to do wonders to his confidence moving forward, especially after a DNF last time out.
He is putting the cool in Kulaga tonight, I think. That's such a high-pressure situation, especially with Urexoy behind, who we know is aggressive, who we know has the ability to make passes. Kulaga has not felt the pressure. He has not made any mistakes. And right now, all he has to do is defend into the final corner. He survived the chicane. And Eric Kulaga, he can't celebrate too early, but I have a feeling he's probably pretty pumped up right now.
The streak has come to an end. Uptown Gary Brown, maybe not for much longer. It's Eric Kulaga in the Ford that will water victory lane here in sunny Spain. He'll conquer Jerez. Errol Urexoy settles for second, 3.5 tenths behind, while Dale Peterson will grab the final spot on the podium. 4 rounds left to go in the championship coming into tonight. We knew that for Gary Brown it was just about continuing to be consistent. At the end of the day though, Eric Kulaga making the most of the opportunity to bring himself a little bit closer to a championship with now 3 races left to go after this, and that Ford looking very, very strong.
As they would say in Spain, es una buena victoria for Eric Kulaga there. I'm not going to call him Eric Kulaga. I'm going to call him Eric Cool, Calm, and Collected Aga. I think that's a really succinct nickname for him.
Wait for the final cars to come across the line. For Urexoy as well, even though it's another second place finish, it's not a victory. Regardless of how this season has been, with plenty of its own ups and downs, the main thing that is, I think, going to be important to take away in the camp of the 63 is just how impressive the speed has been on occasion. And tonight, maybe just strategy not working out. We said that you didn't necessarily want to be leading the race, and for Eric Kulaga, well, he didn't have to lead for very long.
Got the rest of the gang slowly making it to the line here. I think Michael Kulaga's finally finished. It was a tough day for him, but he's going to be pretty happy for his brother as well. I don't think we'll hear from him, but it's a family affair in the Kulagas.
It's also at Vulture Motorsports 1 and 2, with North and South getting both onto the podium. Dale Peterson in his Ferrari 5 seconds off of your leader, with then Steven Martinez and Matt Scherf continuing the good run of form for Vulture Motorsports through the rest of your top 5. Frank Johnson, Lunatic Racing's Colin McKenzie, and then Felix Felice, Pete Mejia, and Sully Saad, the rest of your top 10, with 11 seeing Reagan Chandler across the line, Trevor Houston, Jay Steffi, Ryan Reeves, JR Gregory, Matt Dinsmore, Greg Doucette, Luke Davis, Nicholas Caranges, and Chet Miller, your top 20. 21st went the way of Justin Delano, one of the drivers that did indeed have to come down and serve one of your incident point-related penalties. Nicholas Herrera, Jared Keane, and then Michael Kulaga through top 24. Then Ryan Luna, Jason Ahrensberg, Buck Hamilton, Waldo Walden, and then Chad Dick, all within 1 lap of your leader, while Gary Brown drops 2 laps down. comes across the line in 30th. This will be one of his drop rounds. Jeff Carollo and then Corey Davis, the rest of the field, but we'll head on down directly to Victory Lane, where Joey Tebman's getting ready to chat with, I'm sure, a very happy Eric Kulaga.
I'm sure he is very happy indeed. Hello, Eric. Another first-time winner in the PRL. We're always happy about those. Did you expect that to come in the Ford at this new track here? Was this where you expected to get that first win?
No, especially not with downtown Gary Brown's times early, but man, I pulled a quali lap out, and for about 20 seconds I had the pole, and yeah, after he spun, I just hung with Errol, and was able to do the overcut, got a little better pit stop, and from there just held it together, man. I'm sweating, so I need a shower after this, man. Whew. How about that Ford?
How about that Ford, indeed. And now, with Gary Brown and Justin Delano getting into trouble today, this puts you in championship contention here with a couple of weeks to go. Do you think you can hang on, and do you think you can fight for a championship in the next 3 weeks?
I mean, up until I got taken out at Nürburgring, I was the rightful points leader without the drop weeks. But no, I mean, it's been consistent all year. I mean, I generally feel like I could go top 10. It's been a lot of top 5s this year, so yeah, I mean, why not? Gary's fast, but yeah, as long as the car's good, man, I think I can hang in the top 3 in points and just keep rolling.
Well, Eric, congrats on that first win. Welcome to the PRL Winners Club, and we will see if you can make it 2 for 2 next week.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Love the broadcast. Thanks to the PRL guys, everything, admins. Great league, love it. Thank you guys, man, so much.
Eric Kulaga victorious tonight, and unfortunately, for the second time this season, we've got to talk to Errol Urexoy in second place. Unfortunately, Errol, so close yet again to the first win. What more did you need tonight?
Always a bridesmaid, right, boys? Yeah, that was good on Eric. On my outlap from the off-cycle pit we did, I had one little squiggle, and that was it, that 0.2, 0.3 of a second. And yeah, I had that one pass at him, but there was no way I could pull that one pass attempt off without running him wide. And he's a team principal, so. And I was thrilled to see the Ford and Eric in the Ford get the win. He's been killing it in that car, so I'm glad to see that.
We're definitely glad to see the Ford up there as well. Congrats on second place again, Errol. Another podium, and we'll see if we can get that first win next week.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Errol Urexoy, second place here tonight. We got one more driver to talk to, back on the podium again. It's who else but Mr. Dale Peterson, kind of having your own race back there, but eventually did start mixing it up with Steven Martinez. How was that fight for the podium? Dale Peterson, do you have a copy?
Hey, hi guys, how are you?
There he is. There's our boy. How was that fight for the podium, Dale?
It was great. We were really close there on pit exit. And, fortunately, Steven gave me a little bit of room. And then we had a little bit of lap traffic. The blue flags, had some problems there, but managed to get through it good. And it's a good race at the end.
Indeed it was. Congrats on the podium, Dale, and we'll see you at Road America next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Dale Peterson, P3 in that beautiful highlighter yellow Ferrari Arjuna. And like I said, we are off to Road America next week, the potentially, arguably greatest road course in America. It's up for debate, but it'll put on a great race either way.
I think best road course in Road America, yes. America's national park of speed. Of course, after that, Zandvoort and the Hockenheim ring. Zandvoort's going to be a difficult beast to pass at. Hockenheim's a little bit more wide, a little bit more open. Definitely something that you can say, not about the Barber Motorsports Park, about Road America, because it's wide, it's flowing, it's old school, because much like some of the fun tracks that we've raced at so far this season, Joey, there's absolutely no runoff for you to go and waltz your way on through.
No runoff whatsoever, except in the select few places, and how many times have we seen absolutely phenomenal races here at Road America in the PRL GT3 series? I still remember back 2 seasons ago when it was Floyd Kerr versus Andrew Rasmussen, drag racing to the line, and I have a feeling we're going to see a great race like that again next week.
Absolutely, so you know where you can catch all the action on the 9th of May, same time, same place. Coverage begins around 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Join us as we'll head on over to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. However, with that said, it's time for us to switch our focus up and make our way on over to the Barber Motorsports Park. 45 minutes about to be thrown onto the clock, and 5 more minutes at a track this treacherous is going to be very difficult for the drivers to keep their mental focus up. GT3 Sprint takes center stage with open setups, allowing the drivers to make the most of their machines. And while it's been about Uptown Gary Brown and his 4 wins in a row in the Fix Series, no such dominance in the Sprint Series so far. We have a new championship leader after Abner Acosta missed out on our race at the Green Hell. It's now Francis Castillo-Romero that has taken the championship lead, but it's just 11 points. This is a championship that looks like it could go any which way, with still a long way in the road left to go. Of course, Road America, Zandvoort and Hockenheim after this, very similar to the Fix Series. What should we expect here though, Joey, when it comes to this Alabama roller coaster?
It is a roller coaster. That's the perfect word to describe it, and it's got that name for a reason. It is a roller coaster. The sheer amount of elevation change, which is more than Jerez, by the way. I did check. It is higher elevation change, about 80 feet total over the course of the track, ups and downs. There's some very, very fast corners. There's some very, very tight corners at the hairpin. That's going to be one of your best places to pass. It's all about not making mistakes, because especially in the second sector at Barber, if you make one mistake, you're paying for it for about half the lap.
So that's the schedule. Quick look at the championship standings just to remind you of how it all is now looking. Still no wins inside of the top 5 in points. It's consistency that's kept drivers inside of that top 5. Francis Castillo-Romero, Abner Acosta, then Juan Malagon, Ryan Puctel, and Martin Crisp are the top 5. Top 5s rather, not across the board for any driver so far this season. We've said what a weird schedule it's been in some ways, Joey, but I feel like it's also required different skills from the drivers week in and week out.
And it's a very, very weird championship in the driver's standings at the top of the table, like you said, because the first winner is Scott Kimbrough in 6th, and then you have to go all the way down to 14th to find the next winner, which is Beckham Jasir. He shouldn't really be down there. He has taken 55 points worth of penalties. He would be around 3rd or 4th right now, but that opens up the championship for the likes of Francis Castillo-Romero, who we haven't talked about much in races. He's just been quietly picking up those podiums. So is Abner Acosta. So is Malagon. It is going to be a championship of consistency rather than a championship of wins, because the winners have just taken themselves out too much.
Yes, Boris Ovando, for example, in that Precision Racing Esports car, has sometimes been involved in things through no fault of his own. Here's a look at the team championship as well, where CRT Purple have 2 drivers inside of the top 3 in points, but currently sit 3rd with SimCity Racing, and then Precision Racing Esports 1, 2, and 3. Consistency is where SimCity Racing have come. You mentioned this when it came to our discussion with the team championship in the Fix Series, Joey, but you can have 3 drivers, 2 of them score points. SimCity Racing only have the 2 drivers. Both Martin Crisp and Sean Dickinson must perform week in and week out.
And Dickinson hasn't quite been as consistent this season. He's had a few run-ins with some other drivers, most of which weren't his fault, so hasn't quite been delivering the same amount of points he was last season. It's still more than just about every other team. And critically, Sean Dickinson took a car switch earlier in the season, so he took a 20-point penalty himself, but that doesn't apply to the team. So SimCity Racing did not lose those 20 points like Sean did.
I didn't even notice that, so that is a very, very good point. Of course, Sean Dickinson in the SimCity Racing colors now in a Lamborghini Huracan. Martin Crisp racing in that Audi R8. Always interesting to kind of get the perspective of how in an open setup series as well, that means the drivers are having to work on different cars but try and making each other's cars as fast as possible. Qualifying is underway once again. Much like with the Sprint Series, this Fix Series, excuse me, this is an open qualifying session. Drivers must share the track. Joey, I'll just remind you as well, even though you didn't join us on the broadcast last week, we didn't miss your face. You know where I'm going with this.
Yes, unfortunately. There it is. It's here. Nick McLaughlin has not had the best season with this face, so I'm shocked that he hasn't changed it. I'm shocked that he hasn't gotten the curse away and then switched it up, but he's still he's ride or die. I think we can say that much. He is the leader of the fan club.
He's got 2 on the front. He's got 1 each on the sides as well. So he is committed to his bit, that is for sure. Andrew,
speaking of committing to the bit, by the way, I'm going to interrupt you for just 1 second here. Nick McLaughlin, how's this qualifying lap going?
It's not bad. I'm just on an out lap right now, trying to warm up for one last crack at it.
Good stuff. Nick McLaughlin. I'm so glad we could just do that in the middle of the broadcast, don't you?
We didn't even interrupt him on the hot lap, though. That's the disappointing thing. Andrew Waring currently on top, though. Just 700s clear of Sean Dickinson, Joey Haynes, Juan Malagon, and then Martin Crisp. Abner Acosta does return. He is in the 6th position in qualifying. Francis Romero struggling to get to grips with the Barber Motorsports Park, and it's one that GT3 cars very much do not go to traditionally. And so I can understand why plenty of these drivers are trying to get to grips with the rhythm and maybe having to learn on the fly. But in the championship lead, that is not where you will want to be, right in the heart of the danger zone on the starts.
It's not a very long qualifying session, though, so this could just be the same situation we saw Colin McKenzie in at Jerez earlier, in that Francis Castillo-Romero has just been trying to get qualifying laps in for the last 17 minutes and just keeps getting held up or throwing himself off the road or whatever. He got held up again on this lap by his teammate in the Porsche behind, so once he gets to the line, he's going to have 2 more shots at getting a legitimate lap around here. And there's no absence of traffic around this place. We've got 37 cars in the field tonight, and seemingly all of them are out on track right now.
Yeah, I think they are actually out on track with the exception of about 4 of them. Here comes the 96. It's not going to be this lap by that we see him improve. But with 2.5 minutes to go, if he pulls to the side and lets his teammate go, he just burned this lap, and he almost just got taken out by Blake Ziti. We just moved up to 19th spot. Romero's going to get one more opportunity, and that is going to be it. That's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Here's his teammate Juan Malagon, though, currently up in 4th. So we do know the CRT purple cars have speed, even though one's in a Porsche, one's in a Mercedes.
Yeah, the old Seabow Racing team just recently joined the PRL this season, so if they don't look very familiar to some of you longtime PRL viewers, that's because they have just come onto the scene here. They've taken a ton of drivers from the PRL. So the likes of Francis Castillo-Romero, Michael Diaz, who's not in the field here tonight. A lot of familiar drivers have taken up this team, and they've had quite the assault on the championship this season. Unfortunately, Malagon pulls over to let Blake Ziti by, and he's going to put himself right in front of his teammate Francis Castillo again as he sets up for another lap.
I'm wondering if that's almost intentional. It is always nice if you're struggling, as that's Blake Ziti that runs wide, and the Joey Tebben fan club car also looked like it had a big old tank slapper. Should we say hi to Nick McLaughlin again? Nick, can you talk us through that?
He did just have a tank spinner there.
Oh, we got some traffic that was going slow, and I had to take evasive maneuvers.
I have to ask, what is qualifying like here with 37 GT3 cars trying to work around a 2.5 mile track?
You know what? I'm glad there isn't 60, because even with this amount, it is hectic. It is hard to find space out here.
I'm also using this as an opportunity to say you've got about 45 seconds left in qualifying. Are we getting a webcam from you today?
Not from me. It's in a box somewhere. I just moved, and I'm lucky to even be at the race.
Well, we're glad to have you, Nick. We'll try and disturb you a couple more times today so you can use us as your racing driver excuse.
I look forward to it, guys.
Nick McLaughlin. Good sport. Should we check in with his teammate in the sister Joey Tebben fan club car?
Let's see if he's awake. Ted Lowendick, you awake back there?
I am awake. How's it going, guys?
Are you up on your time right now?
No. I actually won in the little quick thing I'm coming up to here. And I need to get out of Abner's way. I think he's actually on a quick one. There we go.
Look at that. Live blue flag serving. We never get to see that.
You don't need a haircut, by the way, Ted, because if you need a haircut, I'm like 3 months overdue for one.
Well,
I'm glad I'm not on camp today, because if anybody needs a haircut.
I usually cut my own hair, which is a fun time.
Me too.
It's one size fits all, you know, and just go around the outside. But it's a good time. It's pretty easy.
I'm just saying, next time you can commit to the bit and throw a wig on for us as well.
So I almost went full send tonight and was going to cut my hair during the race, but I figured that might be a little dangerous. So we're not going to do that.
Okay. Donations in chat to see that. We're going to hold you to that at some point in the future, Ted. I'm just making sure you know this.
Next time we're at Barber, I'll do it.
Okay, there we go. Ted Lowendick, also someone that we can disturb through the course of the race. Qualifying sees the checkered flag out. Now, can Martin Chris improve as one of the final cars? We haven't seen too many time improvements in the closing stages. 21.5 is previous best. It's 200ths faster. He's still going to stay in 6th position, though.
Needed 6 more thousandths there to beat Abner Acosta, and he only needed about 300ths to beat Joey Haynes. And who does that? Exactly, it's his teammate Andrew Hardman. What a qualifying for Evolve Sim Sports. 1, 3, 4. I believe those are the correct numbers in my mind there. 3 Evolve Sim Sport drivers in the top 4. That's fantastic for them.
I think you're right. We'll get confirmation, of course, when we go and take a look at the qualifying grid. Just coming off the NTT IndyCar Series race at this track this past weekend, we saw 2 stops versus 3 stops in terms of strategy. I think something that we saw with the Fix Series is going to come to play out here as well, Joey, which is the fact that you are going to want, if you're in traffic, to box early and try and get out of the storm.
Make sure you're not ending up in the storm yourself. We saw that happen so many times in the fixed race earlier, where pitting early ended up putting drivers within touching distance of each other and running into each other. So it's going to be all about watching that relative and hoping you have a crew chief on your side as well.
And remember, because we're following the iRacing IMSA series for this week, it's not a 40-minute race, 45 minutes. 5 extra minutes doesn't sound like much, but here at the Alabama roller coaster, who's going to hold on the best? It's Evolve Sim Sport that finds something in qualifying. They're going to start 1, 3, and 4. It's Andrew Waring that will lead us to the green. It's got Sean Dickinson in the Lamborghini for company, Hardman and Haynes in the Evolve Sim Sport duo on row 2. Juan Malagon, the best of the very purple Porsches. Abner Acosta rejoins us on the outside of row number 3 while starting in 7th spot. Martin Crisp in the 2nd, SimCity Racing, 9:57. Nani Tavares, Beckham Jasir, and then Diego Morales through your top 10. Note new colors for Beckham Jasir. Boris Ovando, Michael Terrafino, 11th and 12th positions. Ryan Pucktel in the distinctive orange as Elliott White alongside in 14th. Devin Horvath, and then Dave Menino, 15th and 16th. It's Blake Ziti and then Arnaud Genet, 17th and 18th, while Gonzalo Cortez and Kevin Norris complete the top 20. Not much bleeding the drivers here in terms of times, with David Mendoza and then J.R. Williams, 21st and 22nd, just 7/10 off of pole, with Andres Espinosa and then Ted Lowendick, 23rd and 24th. Caleb Lehman, Miguel Angel Fonseca, Philip Mannion, Kwok Nin, Nick McLaughlin, and then Josh Spears making up the top 30, with Ryan O'Connor, Nico Sanidakis, Francis Romero, the championship leader, back in 33rd, Marc-Andre Desjardins, Fernando Yaquez, and then Artie Mercedes through the top 36. Andrew Sharp, the 37th and final car to roll here at Barber. And qualifying looks like a relatively nice day out there in Birmingham, Alabama. Suddenly, it's gotten dark as we get ready to roll for a full pace lap.
You might think we were about to have a little bit of rain here, maybe a nice little Alabama tornado. We've got to wait a couple more updates until that comes. We roll. Andrew Waring, very, very familiar to starting on pole on the open wheel side, but I believe this may be his first pole in GT machinery. I've got to check the data there. What I do know, though, unfortunately on the other end, is that poor old Andrew Sharp started on pole for the first time in the GR86s last night. He starts the exact opposite, the tail end of the field tonight, unfortunately.
Where was the GR86 and MX-5 series last night?
Jerez.
Oh, that's right, it was at Jerez. Very, very similar tracks. Even though this does have more elevation change, I think there is something to be said about the nature of the tracks, and so maybe that's going to be quite interesting to see how it compares. Now, out of turn 3, you crest the hill and you head up towards turn 5, I think, because logic in corner numbers is definitely not held here at the Barber Motorsports Park. You exit turn 5 and then you enter into the braking zone of turn 7A, B, and I'm sure C somewhere there as well. There is the Motorcycle Museum, though that is off to the very outside of this next complex at the roller coaster that we're working through. There's hundreds of classic motorcycles. I haven't had the pleasure of going there, Joey, but I very well will want to, especially knowing that apparently Barber is a great place to just go and sit and enjoy a race.
I mean, it seems like it. Even just looking at it from the outside, it seems like a fantastic place to go. Unfortunately, you do have to go to Alabama to go there, but we make those trades. We make those trades. Same with Mid-Ohio. You got to go to Ohio to go to Mid-Ohio, but it's worth it.
You covered yourself quite well there.
There's nothing in Alabama. You go to Birmingham, Alabama.
You can get away
what are you
with
going to do for the weekend?
Well, you can get away with the Ohio slander. Alabama slander is a little bit different, especially given how college sports is fanatical down there.
That is very true. And Alabama's weird because, as Rhett and Link said, their barbecue sauce is white, made out of mayonnaise, and that's true. Alabama barbecue sauce is just mayonnaise and vinegar and spices. It's an upside down place. It's a weird state.
So, predictions, Joey. Who comes out on top as we go ready to go? Remember, 45 minutes, 5 extra minutes compared to normal.
Well, this is actually Andrew Waring's first pole in GT racing in the PRL. He's got 9 poles in TCR and F3 together, but this is the first time he's starting for pole in GT, and I think he's going to win in GT as well.
Well, here we go. 45 minutes in the roller coaster ride that is the Barber Motorsports Park. It is Evolve Sim Sports 1, 3, and 4. How can they fare? We're about to find out. Racing once again in the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. Already Juan Malagon getting tagged up with Nane Tavares in 2 of the CRT machines. But down out of turn number 2, cresting up through turn 3 as they rise up towards turn 5. It is Andrew Waring under fire from Sean Dickinson with Hardman and Haynes slotting into line behind them. Onto the brakes, down into 5. Acosta has to give room for Diego Morales. There was door-to-door contact between them. Off of the corner, they're checked up and lose a major chunk of time. Beckham Jasir trying to join the party. Pretty chaotic start to the race.
And you do not want to be going side by side down the hill here. Beckham Jasir backs out of it with Diego Morales. Morales himself backs out of it. Ryan Pucktel has to hop over the curb there into the grass. Mostly everybody makes it through, but we've still got some guys side by side further back through the fastest part of the track.
And this is where, if you do not have it sorted out, through that kink, you can go off into the grass, and then through the dipper, it only gets more treacherous. Rising up in through this final sector for the very first time under racing conditions. Front of the field gets through safely. Philippe Magnon's been escorted off the track, I think. He drops down to the very tail end of the field, returns to pit lane through the toe. Maybe 2 car lengths splitting Waring and Dickinson as they build up half a second back to Andrew Hardman. Let's take a look though at the replay machine and what happened in towards turn 1 as Tavares looked to the inside of Juan Malagon, who was looking to the inside of Abner Acosta. Somehow that was not worse.
Yeah, I don't know what Tavares was thinking about doing there. He was thinking about diving it to the inside and backed out of it the last second, but didn't entirely back out of it and just ended up taking out his teammate. A little bit later on in the lap, Boris Ovando's just been taken out, by the way, but this is Philippe Magnon. No, that's Nick McLaughlin. That's Nick McLaughlin losing it up over the top of the hill, Joseph Newgarden style.
That's your face and the impact that it can have.
Oh, dearie me. And then, is this Philippe Magnon finally? No, it's even more trouble for the Audis, but he's able to save it.
This is Gonzalo Cortez, who went off and in pretty decent style was, like you say, able to hold it. What happened to Magnon, who's already headed back to pit lane at this time? Oh, he loses it by himself.
He hit a very weird bump there coming out of the chicane. He was perfectly fine, then he hit a bump that just fired him into the wall. This is what happened to Boris Ovando there, coming together with Diego Morales. Morales has been a little bit of a wrecking ball here. And then Beckham Jasir also made a mistake out of the final corner.
He almost melded with Diego Morales there, who I agree, we saw the send on Abner Acosta into turn 5, has been a little bit optimistic at times with some of those moves. Martin Crisp has also made a mistake, by the way. He's lost track of those top 5 and now has Beckham Jasir trying to hunt him down in that fiercely forward car. I don't think we're going to be too much talking about fuel mileage here at Barber compared to what we were doing at Jerez. Everyone's just trying to survive today.
Yeah, everybody further back, that's definitely what they're thinking about here. But up front, I think Sean Dickinson, he's close enough that he's thinking about fuel. Trouble for Kwok Nin, though. Actually, Sanidakis, rather. Different paint scheme. I'm still getting used to those Vaporworks guys. They did change the paint schemes to help us, but I'm still forgetting.
Blame Joey Tebben. Is that Tavares again?
It's one of the CRT blue Lamborghinis, and he was around that location.
I'm not sure if it was, but I suspect it might have been. Maybe not. We'll see if we can get word. But already now onto lap 3 in this race. No change at the front of the field. Abner Acosta, after seeing through a couple of nervy moments. First through turn 1, you had Malagon tangling with Tavares and fortunately not taking Acosta out. Then he got absolutely sent by Morales into turn 5. It's not been easy. Joey Tebbin's face, not a good sign for cars either because Ted Lowendick's going slow.
He was letting a driver by there, basically, and now he's got to look in his mirrors. That's Fernando Jaquez behind him, who has joined him after Ted got a little bit out of shape coming over the top of the hill there, and then, through no fault of his own, just gets punted by a Porsche. I think that may have been either J.R. Williams or Dave Menino. This gives Ted the bumper.
I believe it was Menino, although... Oh, no, wouldn't have been Menino because Menino's in a Lamborghini, so it would have been...
True.
Williams in the Porsche. That's what does make it slightly easier when we can try and identify cars like that. Now, even though we have had all these incidents, you'll note, it's not really filtered up the pack at all, splintered up the pack either. We've still got effectively a choo-choo train that runs through 35-ish cars.
And this is what I was mentioning before. Sean Dickinson up front here is definitely faster than Andrew Waring. You see him throwing that car all sorts of places. He's looking to the inside, he's looking to the outside, but I don't think he's actually interested in making the move for the lead right now. He is saving fuel. Waring's probably doing the same, and that's why we're going train mode here in this lead pack, and I think that's going to help a lot of drivers further back think about strategy. If you're somebody like Crisp or Jasir, who isn't going to be able to make up 6 spots on track, you got to start thinking about coming in soon.
When you put tire marks in the grass, you know you cut it too close. There is some smack going on right now between the Dickinsons and the Warings in the YouTube chat. I am loving this right now. It's just, you can feel the tension, and Dickinson's had enough to the inside, in through Charlotte's Web. Waring giving him plenty of space and letting Dickinson crowd him on exit and grabbing the lead in the SimCity Racing Lamborghini.
And that's what I call immediately proving me wrong. Dickinson was content to save fuel for a moment, but he said, you know what, we're going too slow. I need to take the lead here. I can save enough fuel in the lead on my own if I really need to here. He had enough. He's taken the lead, and now all of the Evolve Sim Sport drivers run 1, 2, and 3 there. Remember the order. Andrew, Joey.
That doesn't help. Andrew. Which one's Andrew? And Joey, you can't say Joey because you talk about your...
That's true.
Yeah, you see, you've got to make it clearer. Mendonca and Ziti. Now, there's gravel on the outside of turn 7. Was Blake Ziti trying to send a message to Mendonca there?
I don't know what the message could have been there, but like I said, it's very, very difficult to run side by side through there, so they may have just had a little bit of fun with each other down the hill. Oh dear.
Blake Ziti's all sorts of out of control, and Mendonca has taken the tow back to pit lane. Not sure if he really could have done much. So this is also important. Just watch how patient they are initially. This was what I was a little bit confused about. I think Blake Ziti was maybe trying to filter in behind Mendonca after the incident. Arnaud Genet is going to have to take a look at that one as the head steward of the PRL. Speaking of which, I think it's probably time that we start our filter through of the field and our onboard webcam. Say hello to the face of Arnaud Genet.
It's time for the carousel of entertainment. It's everybody's favorite segment. Arnaud having a decent little race in P13 right now behind Ryan Pucktel, getting checked up in the train here. This is exactly that train that I was talking about, so if Arnaud can find a clean bit of track, he's definitely going to be one of those drivers thinking about coming in. Caleb Lehman, no Legos behind him today, unfortunately. Bad luck there, but he does have a laptop charger there, so get all that charge, Caleb Lehman, you're going to need it.
Speaking of Lego, I went to my Lego store today. I left 5 minutes later with more Lego.
Good. Which ones?
The new Peugeot. Here's Ryan O'Connor, though. We'll get away from my Lego purchasing decision because I may make some more bad ones. Ryan O'Connor sees Fernando Yaquez go for a ride in front of him. Not even breaking a sweat, though.
Yeah, that's so fitting for James Murphy lookalike Ryan O'Connor, because he's thinking like LCD Sound System. He sees trouble and he goes, "It's time to get away."
Here's Kwoknin, by the way. The green on his car is, I think, what we've got to try and remember.
Yes, he's green. Sonadakis is black and blue, and then Sabarno Majumdar,
who we haven't seen for a few weeks.
Yeah, he's got to come back. So Sabarno Majumdar, if you're listening, get back in here. We need you in the Vaporworks Sim Sports lineup.
Yeah. Checking up a little bit further, by the way, because Fortunately for Caven Norris, he's actually having some luck today, up in 14th spot.
Well, don't say that. Don't say that. We don't want it to fall apart for him again. But he finally came back to the PRL this season after a couple of seasons off, and the bad luck has not escaped him. So I'm gonna cease to say anything about Caven Norris. I'm just gonna let him not get cursed.
He's out of focus right now as well. See what I've done? See what I did there?
It's a nice soft focus. It's artistic.
It is. Hopefully we're going to... There is now a pun to be made about how he is struggling to focus. If he has an issue, he set it up perfectly for us, so thank you very much. Check in with a couple more replays. Firstly, I think we should check out how... Our poor drone camera there shattered into a million pieces. But Fernando Yaquez, just too much speed on entry. Rear end stepped around on him and could have been a whole lot worse.
He clipped the curb too much, I think, in the initial part of this corner. We're right on board with him here. Turns in a little bit too early, clips the curb too much, and that sets it all sorts of wrong. It's such a difficult corner because it's completely blind until after you have to turn in. You have to turn in before you actually see the corner going down the hill, and you've got to check up early to make sure you're carrying as much speed as possible through there, but also getting set up through the second part of the corner going back uphill. It is an exceptionally difficult corner, and Fernando Jaquez finds that out the hard way.
Beckham Jasir has gone and passed not just Martin Chris, but Abner Acosta as well, has promoted himself up into the top 5. 1 second now building at the front. Sean Dickinson stretching his legs, then 1.8 seconds between the Evolve Sim Sports teammate. It's Waring in front of Hardman, then in front of Haynes. 10 minutes complete. Remember, 45 minutes also comes with a slightly extended fuel window, so we should see these drivers slightly adjust for that in terms of when they come on in. As Caven Norris loses not 1 but 2 spots. Malagon and Williams sliding on through.
Well, you know what, Arjuna? He's losing focus.
There we go.
He's losing focus. Up over the top of the hill, blurring the lines between track limits and asphalt. He almost lost it again there. He almost got in the grass again, but he did eventually take care of things.
Yes, when drivers present puns to us like that, we've got to grab them with both hands. We've got to make the most of the opportunities. Speaking of opportunities, hello Arnaud Genet. Jigs back to the inside on Ryan Pucktel. Not taking no for an answer. Genet up to 12.
That was a wild move from Arnaud Genet. That's not a move he normally makes, but I have a feeling that he was feeling a little bit slighted by Ryan Pucktel. Maybe they had a little bit of an incident together earlier on in the lap, and Arnaud said, you know what? I'm sending it. You can deal with it. I'm taking this position from you, and he got it done. He got it slowed down.
Still, look at the line that's running, though, all the way through. I want to see if we can spool up what happened, because maybe... There was definitely something that happened before in this train. Here they are in towards turn 1. Pucktel's on the inside. Genet, well, I'm not going to say he necessarily did anything wrong initially, as that's Pucktel that's now gone around in the live pictures. Up the inside through turn 3. Here's where the lunge to the inside came.
It's actually not as big of a lunge as we thought. The angle kind of shows a little bit more distance than there actually was, but Genet did just switch to the inside, left just barely enough room there, and that was a very, very savvy move. It was less of a dive than I thought. He was closer than I thought, but unfortunately Ryan Pucktel was far closer than we thought to what happened up here. I think that's Devin Horvath just clipping the grass and then straight back into the racing surface.
Ooh. And that 13 machine really crunched on in, so J.R. Williams, not much that he could really do to take avoiding action. 3 cars scampering for the Alabama Hills. Front of the field, though, back down to 0.4 of a second, and now well and truly a 2-car breakaway. Dickinson and Waring in tandem, then Hardman, Haynes, Jasir, Acosta, and then Chris for the rest of your top 7. If I'm Andrew Waring, I don't hate this. I'm saving fuel. I'm pretty happy.
And I have to imagine that Dickinson's saving a little bit as well. Both of these guys know that there's still 30 minutes left in this race. It is quite the long race. There's plenty of time. So we're thinking the long game here. And I have a suggestion, and I have a reason that these two are pulling away so much ahead of the guys who are close to them. It's because they have their families representing them in the YouTube chat. So that's a sign to all the rest of you drivers. Start telling your family and friends to tune in here and cheer you on in the chat. It gives you an extra couple of miles per hour.
The problem is, Joey, they'll be watching, but they just won't be watching you because per RaceSpot's official HR policy, I now have to fire you for using the word tune in on a web broadcast.
Oh no.
Have you ever talked with Will? Vincent?
Well, you could probably tune in theoretically. If
No. He is very, very strict about this because you tune in to a radio station by literally, tuning your radio in. You're not clicking on a button.
I'm not here for this linguistic prescriptivism.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go wake up Will Vincent and take it to him.
He's in. Well, I was gonna say Birmingham. He's in a different Birmingham. The one on the other side of the pond. The weirdest thing when I moved to the US was how many places in the UK are also just places in the US. For example, Birmingham, Liverpool. There's a Liverpool, Pennsylvania. Did you know, Joey?
Yeah, there's all sorts. Well, Boston was originally a UK town.
It's
Portland.
crazy.
It's almost like they colonized this place or something.
Crazy. 30 minutes to go. On board with Beckham Searing, their fiercely forward colours. Now, Barber is one of my underrated tracks in that I feel like it's a track that without sim racing, many drivers, including myself, may not have been exposed to in such a way. What are your underrated gems, Joey, though, that you feel like that, whether it's here on iRacing or some other platforms, you're like, you know what, maybe it doesn't get worldwide recognition? It's one of the best tracks in the country, maybe the world.
Well, Barber is one of them. We only see this raced in IndyCar and assorted club series nowadays because IMSA doesn't come here anymore. The SRO series never come here anymore. It's just IndyCar and the Road to Indy for that matter. But we put great races at this place in any type of car, whether you're putting prototypes around here, or GT cars, or open wheel cars. This place was designed for motorcycles, but it's a phenomenal car racing track, so we need to see this place get more use.
I like that the way that you phrased it, designed for motorcycles, but I really enjoy it, no matter what car that you really put around here. I'd go as far to wager that if you put NASCAR around here, it would be pretty good.
Let's go do it. When Rudskogen came out, I tested the Xfinity car around there. I have to imagine that this would be pretty similar.
Okay, just because we can do certain things on the sim, Joey.
The first couple of corners are almost identical.
Just because we can doesn't mean we need to. Look how close Andrew Waring is, and I don't feel like he's going to be too patient. Yes, he's been saving plenty of fuel, but has he saved enough? He'll half look to the inside. Dickinson leaves space for him, and, well, very similar to how Dickinson got through initially. It's on exit that Waring just slots on through. New race leader, Waring once again at the front.
And I think Sean Dickinson was listening to you there, Arjuna, because he wasn't interested in fighting for that lead. He just wanted to get back in line, to not hold himself up. He was saying, just because I can doesn't mean I need to. I can just get back in second and save some fuel.
Love the sound of the Lamborghini as it works its way in towards this dipper section. Now, I'm just going to make my claim again, that even though Sean Dickinson and Martin Crisp are in very different cars, Audi and Lamborghini, can we get some different colors on them just to make it even easier? Because I'm a dumb commentator.
I think your wishes aren't going to be granted, Arjuna. We've been begging Martin Crisp to put the red and blue back on that car for weeks.
He did it for one race.
I think it's time to lose it. We got to start going through the levels of grief here, and I think we got to start accepting it.
Cruel and unusual punishment to be shown.
That is true.
What the livery could be, and to then have it stolen away hurts my heart. 1 second now at the front, though, so in a lap already the Audi has built up a pretty healthy advantage. Ted Lowendick is headed down to pit lane, trying to get himself, I think, out of dodge. Pit lane entry is definitely a talking point here. We've talked about that a couple of times this season.
I think we should talk to Ted Lowendick about his strategic decisions. Let's do it. Ted Lowendick. Arjuna said you were getting out of Dodge, but I'm saying you're getting Audi the lap traffic. Is this a deliberate strategy choice, or have you been penalized?
It's a deliberate choice.
Nice.
Yeah. Sorry, just had to make sure we're good. a bit held up there. I was doing well. I was kind of just picking up spots there in the beginning, and then Caleb decided to throw a turtle shell at me, and I ended up losing a couple spots. So we're all right, but hoping to make up some spots here with the pit strategy.
So you're a scientist, so you know all about the scientific method, you know all about research, you know all about studying data. So far, I would say the Joey Tebben fan club has been bad luck for you and Nick McLaughlin.
I mean, Nick and I have been having a good time. So that's
if we
really
get into next season, is there going to be a new fan club? Is there going to be a new deity for you guys?
So there will always be the Joey Tebben fan club, but maybe we'll have some fun with the team name and go for another commentator.
The Arjuna Kankapati fan club is not copyrighted.
That's dangerous.
So one of our ideas has to do with DJ Clark, and we'll just kind of leave it at that.
Okay, so DJ's now got to be worried. Ted, we'll let you go and focus on the back half of the race. Thanks for letting us interrupt you as per usual. We're going to have to figure out which commentator we can set the fan club on. Anyone but me would be my preference. I have discussed this in some of the contracts that I have signed in the world of esports and commentary. I would like my contracts to have clauses that say I should be on camera as little as possible, and that includes my face being on the side of cars.
Well, I think what they should do is they should go back in the archives, go back like 5 years ago, find somebody, or not even 5 years ago, but find somebody from RaceSpot who just doesn't commentate anymore, who's moved on to other things, and we'll revive them without them knowing.
Walsh.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a few names. I've got some contingents. There's plenty of names that we could actually bring up here.
Dylan Coyle, but we revived him this season.
No, yeah, we got to go back into the annals. All right, I will come up with some names, and then next season, boy, is it going to be interesting. I'll try and find someone that no one knows has actually commentated on a race spot before.
We could get one of those Danish guys from the Porsche Club of Denmark from one of those broadcasts.
Porsche Club of Denmark. That's the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Denmark.
I got half the words.
You almost got there. It is always confusing, by the way, because the Porsche Esports Super Cup, PESC, is a very special acronym. Anything Super Cup, whether it's real or virtual, it's got a meaning. It's the top level of Porsche Motorsports, right? So regional Porsche series are Porsche Carrera Cups, right, for the most part, which is great. Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Denmark, Deutschland, etc., etc. Then our friends north of the border decided they wanted to come and join the party. Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge, because they do a GT4 and the 911 Cup car, as in through the final couple of corners. Beckham just here past Joey Haynes, not wanting to wait around too much longer. What does Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge abbreviate to, Joey?
It's a pretty pesky acronym.
It is a pesky acronym. And so the first time I ever commentated on the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, I kept calling it the Porsche Esports Super Cup Great Britain.
They're all Super Cups in my heart.
Are they though? Some of them have traction control and ABS. That's not very super to me.
That is true. That is true. Oh, there's almost a super dive there from Martin Crisp on Abner Acosta. These guys have lost Waring and Dickinson, but they're very much in their own train here. They're still going at it.
Also have Elliott White, who's just gone and passed Diego Morales, in the 6th or 8th position. So there's a couple of moves here and there, but has been a rather settled in first into the race. I say settled in. Joshua Spears, not so settled on track.
He spears off the road.
Right on board with him over the shoulder in the Audi. And this time, you can fully attribute that incident to the curb.
Yeah, you do not want to be hitting it that hard, but poor old Joshua Spears, you get out of the rhythm for 1 second there. You get out of your muscle memory, and there's no saving it. It's so high speed. It's such big elevation change that the second you do that, you know you're dead. As Arnaud Genet comes down pit lane, he's the first taker here from the lead pack.
A couple of corners on pit lane entry as well. And so Genet in the Unit SimSport car filters his way on through. See where it splices him out. Check back up in with Beckham Jasir in that fiercely forward car. Love the colors. Good to see Fiercely Forward in the series as well, represented. Artie Mercedes heads to pit lane in the Audi. Now, we've gotten somewhat used to the fact that Artie Mercedes drives, not a Mercedes, but an Audi. Ewan O'Leary joined me in your stead last week, Joey. That really shocked him.
And he drove the Mercedes in the GT4 series, which was even more shocking. He was living up to his name then, but he said, you know what, the Mercedes is not my car anymore. I'm gonna diversify, and now I'm Artie Audi.
There is some alliteration in that one, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, if you're Ewan O'Leary, it gets confusing, because if you're going to be saying Audi Mercedes, that's pretty similar.
I want to make jokes about Ewan, but we rib into him a lot for being from the north. That's something that we like to do to his face. Here's Sean Dickinson, who will come into pit lane a little bit early. 25 minutes complete, 20 minutes still to go. I'm a little bit surprised by this call.
I don't know. I think he was frustrated because Waring was definitely faster. He was starting to pull away. Dickinson needed to say, you know what, I'm gonna do something different here. I'm gonna go off strategy. Speaking of off strategy, look at that. He's up on the jacks.
We saw that from Ted Lowendick as well. I think it's just 2 tires because he drops in pretty short order. Michael Terrafino has just been promoted to the top of the timing, but that is a glitch of some sort because he is definitely not leading this race. Sean Dickinson emerges in net 16th position. And Diego Morales, well, he's been involved in a few things here and there, gets involved in something else.
Down at the hairpin. That's a weird place to lose it. You can definitely lose it on your own there. You may have had some help as well. We gotta wait for the Panopticon to see what happened to him, but he's back on the throttle now. Gotta recover quickly here because he's got some of the Vaporworks drivers coming by him. That's Kwok Nin on the outside. He's going to lift out of it and let Kwok get by there at least. But let's see what happened to him at the hairpin.
By himself, isn't it? Because he's got plenty of room. And in through, it's Malagon that just avoids latching onto him. Menino scampers on through as well. So Diego Morales could have had his car escorted to pit lane courtesy of a tow. Here's a look, though, at your battle for second, or net third, that continues to have Hardman just in front of Jasir, who's not really gone for the move after getting past Joey Haynes. I feel pretty confident in saying we're going to see that move done in the pit stop cycle. Kevin Norris, speaking of the cycle, down on the lane.
Norris is in, Cortez is in, Fonseca, Morales. It's all kicking off here. It's kicking off for Joey Haynes as well. We could have had an Evolve 1, 2, 3 here, but Jasir has really broken that one up, and Haynes is in danger of falling out of the top 5 here once everybody cycles through, because Abner Acosta is all over the back of him, putting all sorts of pressure on Mr. Haynes, who's won in GT machinery before and in open wheel stuff in the PRL as well. It's good to be a Joey in the PRL, but not if you got Abner Acosta behind you.
We need to have a battle of the Joeys in the PRL, is I think what we need to do.
He would win. Joey Haynes would win easily.
No, but you're gonna do it across the different cars. We'll let you have, a Formula 4, so you've got a chance in one of the races. We talk about the battle of the Chandlers. We talk about the battle of Andrew, I guess, here with Andrew Waring and Andrew Hardman, but battle of the Joeys. We don't get to see you driving very much anymore, as that was Martin Crisp who speared off on towards the pit lane. That seems like a good way to force you to get back behind the wheel of a car.
Next season, maybe. I'm thinking about it.
Next
we'll see.
season?
We'll see what I want to pick up.
That's a good point. Sign-ups for next season's PRL action going to be either underway or getting underway shortly. What's intriguing you, Joey, in the world of iRacing, given what developments we've had recently, is Andrew Waring through lap traffic. Surprised he hasn't headed down to pit lane already.
Well, the reason I started racing in the PRL in the first place is because I was commentating the races, and I was like, this looks like a ton of fun. These look like fun people to race with, so I joined the F3 series, and I was racing against guys that I was commentating against. I want to do that in the NASCAR side, because I've never raced against Richard Regan Jr. or Trent Dinkle or Abner Acosta other than, like, one-off hosted races, so I'd be interested to see how I would actually stack up there. Probably not very well, I would say that much.
Well, I was going to ask what was going to happen with the series trucks, and Xfinity numbers have been maybe a little bit smaller, but it's always been interesting racing, that's for sure. As Beckham Jasir off the track. It was going so well until it was not, and as we should see the rest of the field heading down on towards the pit lane led by Andrew Waring, Beckham Jasir finds his way back onto the black stuff.
And take the screenshot here, all of you Evolve Sim Sports fans. It's fallen apart for Beckham Jasir, and it is an Evolve 1, 2, 3 for the moment. Jasir hits the dastardly curb there and loses it. We're right on board again here down the hill. It's going to be the same thing that happened earlier to Joshua Spears. Too early, big clonk, no saving it.
Doesn't hit the wall. That's a good thing. Now we're about to find out if your face has avoided hitting the wall as well, because poor Nick McLaughlin... No, directly into the wall as well.
I think he got back on the throttle there. I think he wanted to kill that car after he lost it.
Sean Dickinson, off pit exit. Andrew Waring on the outside, cannot defend. The undercut working a treat. Dickinson with tires up to temperature and pressure, back to the race lead.
But Andrew Waring's made the pass before. He can definitely do it again. It's not going to happen into the hairpin this time. David Mendonca's going to get out of the way here. But Andrew Waring just has to do exactly the same thing that he did about 10 minutes ago on track and find a way past Dickinson. But both of them are going to be at full bore right now. There's going to be no fuel saving to the end of this race.
Battle for the lead. Elliott White goes on to lap 22. We should see that Precision Racing Esports Audi into pit lane next time by. It is now a fight for fourth that I think is going to be our focus, unless Martin Crisp can latch back up to Andrew Hardman with Joey Haynes and Abner Acosta running behind. After his spill off the track, Beckham Jasir is likely to recover a spot in the top 10. We'll see how much he's going to be able to make inroads through that, though. Waring has got the move done on Dickinson once, but now, with 14 minutes to play, there's no pit stops. It's all about just being in front come the checkered flag.
I'm interested to see where Elliott White's going to fall here, because he's spent the longest amount of time on track, and he's got the shortest stop, 11.1 seconds. That's 2 seconds better than anybody else on pit lane. And Elliott White should come out ahead of, not quite ahead of Joey Haynes, but he does come out ahead of his teammate Abner Acosta. Or alongside him, at least.
I would be shocked if Elliott White is not going to just let Acosta slide on through, and indeed, car fighting for the championship allowed to hold position. As through Charlotte's Web, a little bit of a fight going on with Waring and company, but no major tussle there. Here's Terrafino, who, in trying to recover his car, is going to bonk the front of the Team Beef BMW straight into the Armco.
A little bit impatient there. Poor old Terrafino. He was having a great run here. He was in the top 10. 5th series champion from last season, moving up into the sprint series. Was having a great race, but just one costly mistake's going to take him out of it. Waring up front, though, still very much in it.
I get the sense that was actually the second part of the issue as well. That was not the entire story. So let's go and see what happened to one of our GT3 fixed champions in the past. You have Beckham Jasir behind and into the corner. There was contact.
Yeah, Beckham Jasir probably getting aggressive there because he lost it. He was deeper in the field than he should have been. My question is, was Terrafino losing it beforehand, or was that all Jasir punting him around? Because with the angle of the corner, you can't really tell if Terrafino was losing it already. Let's see here.
I was going to say, I think it's going for a hole that was never on. And so Beckham Jasir will be in the steward's room after the race. Here's Ryan O'Connor, by the way. He's not been the only driver to have issues in through the penultimate corner. Tangles up with Gonzalo Cortez for a moment. And again, it could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse. He doesn't need a new body then he'll be fine. I'm running out of LCD sound system references. I got to find a new lookalike around here.
You just got to go more deep into the catalog of lyrics. 2 tenths, by the way, between Dickinson and Waring. We've probably got 10 laps to play. So that's 10 opportunities to try and find a way on through. And for Sean Dickinson, 10 laps to be mistake-free.
Easy. 10 laps mistake-free, easy as can be. But here comes Andrew Waring. He had a run there, backed out of it though, so he's not really interested in going 100% aggressive right now. He knows there's still 11 minutes left to go. He knows he's very much the faster of the two drivers. That's some very smart driving from Andrew Waring there, waiting for a higher percentage move a little bit later on in the lap.
Putting on a great show for us as well right here, which I will not complain about. And it's not the only Evolve SimCity battle to watch, because Martin Crisp has brought the gap down to Andrew Hardman. It's within half a second, and so it's a question. Is it going to be a double podium for SimCity Racing? Is it going to be a double podium for the Evolve SimSport crew? Which of the families is going to be happier in the chat? So much to think about.
Good exit out of the hairpin again for Waring up top. Is it going to be a good exit for Crisp as well? Not as good for Crisp. So I'd say, if I was a betting person, I would say that Waring is a higher percentage. There's a higher percentage chance that he wins this race than Martin Crisp steals the podium from Hardman. But both of these teams are going to be cheering on their fellow drivers here, and you always want to have 3 cars on the podium, but having 2 cars on the podium is pretty good as well.
It's not often that you'll sweep a podium, but we have seen it on RaceSpot in the past. Check in with the championship leader, by the way. Not feeling it in qualifying clearly. Has quietly worked his way up 12 positions, though, into 21st. Championships aren't won by wins. They're won by consistency. Something very, very obvious in the way the championship so far this season has played on out. For Romero, a top 20, if he's feeling this uncomfortable with the balance of the car, that's a win in his book.
Yeah, I would say we got to rename the CBOW Racing Team. I don't think CRT stands for that anymore. It doesn't stand for Cathode Ray Tube. It stands for Consistency Racing Team. That's exactly what they've done all of this season.
You said you don't want to be side-by-side down through turn 7 at the roller coaster. Sonny Darkius and Blake Seaty proving us wrong. Now Sean Dickinson and Andrew Waring in through Charlotte's Web. Dickinson holds on for the time being, but it is Waring that has the inside line in towards turn 7. Who's going to back out of this one first? Battle for the lead. Dickinson gives up the ghost for the time being, but 10 minutes still left to run.
Had to give up the ghost as Andrew Waring became a ghost there, which didn't help things at all. He couldn't see Andrew Waring on the entry to the corner, but I think that move was a foregone conclusion, essentially. Now all that Dickinson can do is hope and pray that he can keep company with Andrew Waring, not lose as much time as he did in the previous stint, and hope for another mistake, which doesn't come often with Andrew Waring.
A couple of little things that we should keep our eye on, and right now, track's getting busy, even as the cloud cover looms heavy. Joey Haynes slowing down Abner Acosta, wanting to crack back up into the top 5 on his return after missing the race at the Green Hell. Elliott White's there as well after the very short pit stop. And the long initial stint that's allowed him to climb his way up 7 positions after qualifying down in 14th spot. And then you've got the recovery drive from Beckham Jasir, who is already going to have some discussions with Arnaud Genet after the race about some of his moves. Hopefully not about a move that the fiercely forward driver is going to try and put on the 312.
And you were talking about how we need to have a Joey versus Joey battle in the PRL, but I'm going to ask the real question. When do we get the battle of the A's? When do we get Arjuna versus Arnaud versus Andres versus Andrew versus Abner? When is that going to happen?
Never. My rig collects dust now, Joey, unfortunately.
We got to change that. We got to change that.
I would love to. I did 32 broadcasts in the month of April.
Just a couple. A couple.
On top of my job, it's like, yeah, it's just a few here and there. I enjoy it, don't get me wrong. What I don't enjoy is the puns. If anyone can save me from Joey, the broadcast booth's got an opportunity.
Tuesday nights, you know what's coming next season.
Wednesday nights as well, because Joey wants to go and race.
Maybe we'll see. We got to work things out. There's a possibility that there could be some new series in the PRL next season. We're waiting to hear about that. But
you can't say that without slipping us some tidbits.
Well, it depends on what happens in iRacing. If there's a new car that's added, they've been testing heat racing actually. There's a non-broadcasted PRL this season with the F1600 because the driver count wasn't quite what they wanted. So they've been using that as sort of test bed. They've been doing heat racing there. They've been testing all sorts of things. I think it'll be exciting when signups come up in a couple of weeks.
I feel like there's an opportunity to do something like that. 2 15-minute races, top 10 invert for the second or something. I don't know. I like the way that heat races allow you to do multi-stage races a little bit easier in iRacing. Even though there is a limit to the flexibility of the system at the end of the day. I like the sound of that. At the end of last season, so 2023 Season 1, there were comments about maybe doing an IMSA series as well. As much as I love my IMSA stuff, I'm just going to come out here and say that there are plenty of IMSA series. as much as I would enjoy a PRL one, I'm sure we can find our own little niche for the PRL to do something a little bit more intriguing. Maybe a Camel GT series. I'm not even sure if there would be anyone that wanted to do that, but I really enjoy the Nissan and the Audi GTP and GTO. I'd love to commentate on that a bit more.
Yeah, I think all the people who do that have their own night or have their own SOF that's over. That's only once a week, basically. I think every other time
they can
slot
have
for that
another
isn't
week,
occupied.
another
They
race
could,
during the week.
Maybe. Well, if people would sign up for that, I'm not sure. Oh dear, is this a replay of Mr. Martin Crisp getting into trouble?
It's Sean Dickinson, fortunately, and
oh no.
I say fortunately, it's not too bad either. Just look at the level of commitment through this chicane. I call it a chicane.
A little bit of rallycross. No big deal. Kept the wheel pointed straight. Didn't made sure he got all 4 wheels in the grass instead of putting 2 wheels in the grass, and saves it. Keeps the wheel pointed straight. Look at that. No movement at all. A little bit of a correction, back on track, easy, no big deal.
And importantly, got off throttle as well. Too many people would keep their foot in it and try and just save the car with the steering. See a suggestion for GT1 and GT2, that would be cool. I did make that suggestion in the HyperX Club Sport Series this past weekend, that maybe we should have a series there with the old Daytona prototypes. As much as those are terrible prototypes, they're fun race cars. So let's have that. Let's bring in the GT1s. We can have the Ford, the Aston Martin, the Corvette somewhere in there as well. I wonder if Abner Acosta would like that, knowing how much he's capable of saving tires. He's now up into 5th.
I just want a jumpy truck series on the road courses. I want to drive my Pro 2 Light in the road courses more often. I don't just want that to be saved on week 13.
No, you need the Pro 2, not Pro 2 Light. You need horsepower. You need skill.
Nah. The horsepower on the road courses is too much. We don't want that. We want like stadium super trucks level stuff.
Yeah, we're never going to get jumps, unfortunately.
Maybe they're adding theoretically, supposedly, allegedly, we're getting Willow Springs next update, but we can put some jumps out there, make it even more Hollywood.
It won't happen. As that's David Mendoza, just parked on the outside of Turn 5. People are saying HPD for a prototype. This is where I feel like if we're bringing in GT1, GT2, let's just go to the DP. It's an era of sports car racing that I'm sure some may like to forget, given that you're talking about cars that legitimately cost, what was it, $1.2 million in total for a prototype machine. They didn't have much downforce. They weren't anything special. But they drove in a way that the driver had to get so much out of them, Joey. I've got such fond memories of those cars in iRacing. Let's torture some of the drivers with that old tire model.
The only DP I want to hear about is Daft Punk. So I'm gonna live with that. I'm gonna push the Daytona prototypes off to the side. That's for some other drivers. It's too highly skilled for me.
Yes, no. You're hoping you're going to get lucky if you're going to be in that race.
Yes, exactly.
That's the only Daft Punk song that I can remember off the top of my head. So I apologize. That was terrible.
Just think harder, better, faster, and stronger.
I did know that one as well. Damn it. No. What? I'm trying to name another Daft Punk song.
We'll let them think. We'll let them cook.
One more time.
Yeah. There you go. Aerodynamic. That's one that's relevant here.
That's one that I don't remember. Wow.
It's maybe a virtual race, but these drivers are human after all.
My memory is blanking right now.
Television rules the nation. Touch. I can just list the Daft Punk whole discography. We got 2 minutes left in this race. I'll go through all of it.
This is the thing. Even if you're running out of references in one part of your music, discography, whatever that word is, I'm sure you've got plenty more puns to replace it. As Abner Acosta closes in on Crisp and Hardman in the fight for third, less than 2 minutes to go, 2 laps to go at the front of the field, 2 seconds splitting Andrew Waring from Sean Dickinson.
If I'm not mistaken, week 2, when Andrew Waring was given the win at Sebring after finishing second on the road, that was his first win in GT machinery in the PRL. I'm 99% sure that's true fact. Now I'm 100% sure that's true fact. So the guy who's been dunking on everybody in the F3 series and the open wheel stuff is taken to the GT series like like something taken to something, like a duck to water. Andrew Waring is a great duck out here.
There's more crossover than I think people think. They think, oh, he's a GT driver. He can't be quick in a downforce car. No, drivers can adapt. They will be quickened no matter what they do. Look at the fact that Porsche, for example, in the 963, they promoted so many of their GT factory drivers to be prototype factory drivers. The thing that you've got to remember, though, the difference between a downforce car and a GT car is when you go into a corner in a downforce car, you've got to trust the downforce is there and then just brake later. It's not to say that you're not trusting the aerodynamic capabilities of a GT machinery. However, you've got to be a lot more in tune with the balance of the car and how that impacts what you're doing with the pedals, at least in my mind. White flag in hand, 2 seconds still the margin, 1 lap left to run.
This just becomes a beautiful Barber track day here. This is a track that is very, very popular for track days, for all those car enthusiasts down in Alabama, or the motorcycle enthusiasts as well. You can take your car or motorcycle around this place basically all year long for a track day. And Andrew Waring's going to be enjoying that, but it's hard pressure here for Martin Crisp. Abner Acosta wants P4 here. Remember, he can take the championship lead after today with Francis Castillo-Romero getting into trouble, so he can use every point he can get.
This is the return that Acosta needed as well after skipping out on the trip to the Nordschleife. Solid points accumulation at the end of the day. After Francis Romero is going to be, at best, down in 21st position, it would seem like. Opportunities to pass running out across the board. Beckham Jasir still trying to get past Arnaud Genet. That's a battle that's been cooking and hasn't really balled off just yet. But at the front of the field, for Andrew Waring, it's going to be his 16th total PRL win. He jumps up into the top 10 in all-time victories in the series, but he shows his adaptability. An open-wheel specialist, a winner in the GT3s. It's Evolve SimSport on top at the Barber Motorsports Park. Sean Dickinson comes across the line in second for SimCity Racing, while Andrew Hardman makes it double delight on the podium for Evolve SimSport. A really fun race here at the Alabama roller coaster, and as we wait for the rest of the cars to work their way across the line, Joey, 45 minutes of racing, it flew on by.
It did. I can't believe it's all gone. It's like every time I go to the Barber, I feel so much lighter afterwards. We enjoyed so much great racing out there. It was a great recovery for a couple of drivers. Beckham Jasir is one of the main ones, back up into the top 10 after that huge spin. The rest of the gang coming to the line here. Caleb Lehman recovering, Nane Tavares recovering, Kwok Nin recovering. It's a great race of survival for a lot of drivers.
I love myself a bit of Barber. I hope these drivers who maybe came here for the very first time got their first experience of how fun this track can be like as well. Ted Lowendick, Audi Mercedes, Marc-Andre Deschardin will fight their way towards the line as Audi Mercedes, or Audi is going to have to drag Ted Lowendick to the line, but Lowendick will grab 20th, Mercedes 19th. After this, the series rejoin and we'll head over to Road America next, but this may be the race where, for Andrew Waring, Sean Dickinson, put on a really close fight at the front, and the championship potentially got all sorts of shaken up. Let's grab a look at your unofficial race results after the 33 laps. Waring, Dickinson, Hardman, Audi, Lamborghini, Audi at the very front of the field, and very much for Evolve and SimCity. Good points on the board in the team championship. Crisp, Acosta, Haynes, White, Malagon, Genet, and Jasir, the rest of your top 10, with Elliott White +7, Arnaud Genet +9, and Beckham Jasir able to get up into the top 10 after fighting his way back on forward. Caven Norris scored in 11th in the unit SimSport number 774, while Dave Menino leads teammate Andres Espinoza 12th and 13th. Kwok Nin 14th, Caleb Lehman 15th, Miguel Angel Fonseca in his Lamborghini back in 16th spot. Diego Morales, Michael Terrafino, Audi Mercedes, and then Ted Lowendick, the rest of your top 20 behind them. Marc-Andre Deschardin, Josh Spears, Nico Sanidakis, Francis Romero, Ryan O'Connor, Nick McLaughlin, Blake Ziti, all finishing the race before Gonzalo Cortez, Nani Tavares, and then David Mendonca in through those that struggled and end up at least 10 laps down. A handful more names: J.R. Williams, Andrew Sharp, Devin Horvath, Ryan Pucktel, Fernando Yaquez, Boris Avando, and then Philip Magnon. These 37 cars that took to the green flag. Let's head on down then to our post-race interviews. We're still waiting to hear and catch up with Andrew Waring. So let's go reverse order, where Joey Tebben is then getting ready to chat with Andrew Hardman.
Indeed, I am. P3 Andrew Hardman, 2 Andrews on the podiums, 2 Evolve Sim Sports drivers on the podium. How did you guys craft this setup to be so strong around this place?
Good question. It was a very simple change that we made to an existing setup that got us to be very comfortable, good on tires, and I think just honestly teamwork, keeping our cars in a line of stern, and not getting ahead of ourselves. So that was really good teamwork. Shout out to Joey Haynes for being a team player as always, and Andrew for the win.
Next week, it's Road America. It's a little bit longer in terms of straights, a little bit tighter and twistier. Do you think the Audi's going to be just as good there next week?
That's also a good question. I've not really driven too much Road America. I know that's a shocker considering how awesome of a track it is. But my days of racing on Forza Motorsport will surely come in handy. But I hope to keep this momentum going, keep at it with the good setups, and get similar result.
Well, congrats on the podium, Andrew. We'll talk to the other Andrew a little bit later, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much.
Andrew Hardman, P2 here at Barber, or P3 here at Barber, rather. We've got P2, and he's with Arjuna.
Sean, really fun fight, it seemed like, in that race at Barber with Andrew Waring. What did you need to be able to hold off the challenges after getting the lead on the undercut?
I needed a bit more pace. He was definitely slow on the first few laps, and his setup came into its own, and then he made like a fake send, but didn't, so I just let him go because I knew he was faster, but unfortunately the same thing happened at the end, and he kind of just drove off with it.
What do you think about the Barber Motorsports Park? I feel like it's one of the most underrated in motorsports. What do you feel like, especially around this track in a GT3 car?
Oh, I really like it. It's definitely up there with one of my favorites. It's very flowy, very fun. Like, it's definitely a roller coaster of a track, and when you get it right, you really know you got it right.
Well, this is the roller coaster. We're off to the National Parker Speed in a week's time. Congratulations on second, Sean. We'll see you over at Road America.
Thanks again, guys.
SimCity Racing's Sean Dickinson joins us, and now standing by from Victory Lane, Andrew Waring is ready to chat with Joey Tebben.
Indeed it is. For the first time on track this season, Andrew Waring, P1, victory at Barber. How was that battle with Sean Dickinson?
It's good. I mean, I've raced Sean earlier in the year at Imola, and it was just great. You know, he's a great, fast, clean driver, consistent, somebody that is just honestly super fun to race against. And then we have different driving styles, which played their own in the pit stop, so it was like a really long, entertaining race from my view, and I absolutely enjoyed it.
So I don't know how much you pay attention to the statistics side of things, but we've crunched the data, and with this win tonight, you're 16th in the PRL. This puts you tied for 10th all-time in PRL history in terms of wins. How does that feel?
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. That's pretty good. I mean, I've been doing this now for 2 years at PRL, and I've definitely been putting in the effort, so you know, I think the wins just keep coming with that preparation and the mindset to take care of your tires, and that's the approach I'm going to keep taking, and hopefully I keep racking up some more of them, I guess.
Well, congrats on the top 10 in the wins, Mr. Waring, and we'll see you next week. See if you can make it 9th.
Yeah, I'll try and give it my best, but there's a lot of quick guys in this series that are easily ready to take that top spot, so, you know. And thanks for the broadcast in PRL and all my Evolve teammates, Joey and Andrew. Congrats to Andrew on the podium. That's huge for us in terms of morale and getting some speed going with the team this season, because it's been a bit of a struggle.
Andrew Waring, P1 here this evening, 10th all time. All sorts of numbers here, Arjun. All sorts of numbers for the last 45 minutes.
Plenty to celebrate in that Evolve Sim Sport camp as well, especially since you didn't get the chance to call them Devolve here today. But we head over to a National Parker Speed in a week's time. I love myself a bit of Road America. I think I like Barber a bit more in terms of the racetrack. The racing at Road America, though, never disappoints.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to say Road America's better in all ways, and if you've been with us in the PRL for the past couple of seasons, we have seen some of the best GT3 races ever at Road America. It's only going to be more of the same next week, and see if Andrew Waring can put himself in championship contention.
It's a lot of 90-degree corners.
They're fun 90-degree corners, though.
I agree.
It's good for racing.
I agree there. It is fun 90-degree corners, but Barber's got this flow. The up and down, the dipper at the end. To me, that's still maybe my favorite track in all of the US.
Watkins Glen is still better than both of them, so we're fine.
No, not as a racetrack. As a racing track, yes. But if I'm going to go and drive by myself, no, you'll get bored at Watkins Glen and Road America, not at Barber. Anyway, that's beside the point. Here's a look at the schedule. 3 rounds left to go. Road America, Zandvoort, and the round that cannot be dropped to the Hockenheim ring, Joey, where Hairpin's a danger zone, Mercedes-Benz Arena's a danger zone, the final sector's a danger zone, Turn 1's a danger zone. Where can you not be in trouble?
Well, nowhere. And speaking of tracks that aren't very fun to hot lap on your own, Hockenheim is definitely one of them. So it's sort of a trade there in the last 2 weeks. Zandvoort is going to be immensely difficult to pass. I'm not going to say impossible, but it's going to be very, very difficult. Hockenheim, it's going to be a little bit easier. A Grade 1 track designed for the cars that race the worst of any cars in the world. If you can race well with F1 cars at Hockenheim, you can race well with GT3 machinery as well, and that'll be a great championship finale.
It is going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out, what state we enter at that point as well, because this very well could be the turning point in the season. Our championship leaders heading in to today's activities, not leaving with such a smile on their face. Uptown Gary Brown's 4-race winning streak comes to an end, and for Francis Castillo Romero, struggling with the balance of the car on his return to the series, Abner Acosta takes away vital championship points. That's the story of a Tuesday night in the PRL. Let's not forget, the action continues for the rest of the week. We'll be back, Joey and myself, tomorrow night for PRL Xfinity and Truck Series action. For now, though, so long and goodbye. We'll see you next time from America's National Park of Speed. We hope you enjoyed the roller coaster that was the Barber Motorsports Park.